Welcome to Mallorca, where the sun is shining, the birds are singing, and we're about to witness some absolute pain. It is day 2 of round 3 of Super League Triathlon. Already, we raced last weekend in Malta, we raced yesterday with the men's and women's triple mix, and today it is the Sprint Enduro, a brand new format, and we'll crown our round winner and the championship points going into the grand final in Singapore. If you missed yesterday's racing or you don't know what Super League Triathlon is all about, I can tell you it's like nothing you've ever seen before. This is what happened in the men's and women's triple mix yesterday here in Mallorca. Here we go, the women's triple mix. And Taylor Spivey takes stage 1. She was unstoppable in Malta. She continues her run. Katie Zafiris is your triple mix champion. We are off in the men's triple mix. Henry Schoeman into the water fast, but there are plenty behind him. What's happened to Vincent Louis? He was in second position. He's dropped all the way through. I think he's dropped a chain. Well, Henry Schoeman has capitalised. He's dominated the day's racing, and look at him hamming it up for the crowd as well. He's loving this win. Henry Schoeman, your triple mix champion. So much fantastic action yesterday, and we're looking forward to plenty more today with the men's and women's Sprint Enduro. Alongside me, one-time world champion and reigning world champion Vicky Holland, and 5-time world champion Javier Gomez. Sorry about that. That happened yesterday as well. I'm not really that sorry. I did it twice in a row. We'll start, Vicky, with you and the women's. It was a domination from Katie Zafiris. Taylor Spivey looked to lead out early on, got the stage win, but the experience of Zafiris, say that 5 times fast, the experience of Zafiris won out.
Yeah, she's just proved how strong she is over this format. She's been really dominant in the Super League across all events that she's done. The triple mix was the only one she hadn't won this year until yesterday. Now she's got everything, and I think she's going to be the one to beat again today.
Yeah, I just hope that the Sprint Enduro maybe brings her undone. She's taken 50 from 50 championship points, and she took the win yesterday. And here's the results. After the eliminations, due to the 90-second rule, only 5 women made it through. Katie Zafiris, Taylor Spivey, Kirsten Kasper, a 1-2-3 for USA Triathlon from Dutchwoman Rachel Klammer and Yuko Takahashi, the Japanese national champion. But tell you what, 21.05, very fast around this course, and it is a brutal course. Harvey, for the men's, Henry Schoeman needed a win over Vincent Louis, and he got a little break when Louis' chain came off at the bottom of the hill here, and that hurt him, but he still came back to second. Schoeman took his chance, though.
Yeah, he took his chance, and it was very unlucky for Vincent to drop his chain, but he proved that he's very fit, he's very strong. He ended up finishing second, and in a race like this, so short and so intense, if you have a problem like that, you probably can be out of the race, you know, but he got himself back in, and yeah, I think it's going to be very exciting today.
You won the age group enduro race today, the amateur race, with a team featuring yourself, 5-time champ, Mario Mola, reigning world champ, and Mario's brother Lucas, who's also incredibly fit. So congratulations, but I want to ask you about the course. Yeah. Well done. Right there at the top of the Wikipedia page. That one goes on Javier's page. But the course is brutal, isn't it?
It's brutal. I could feel it myself, and but when I saw it, it's just, you know, there's no rest at all. It's up and down all the time. Very technical, very narrow, and we saw all the guys are struggling. You know, it's a very tough race, and yeah, but it's what we want to see. You know, a good show.
Yeah, good show when you crush the age groupers. Well done to Javier Gomez. Let's have a look at the explainer. If you're just new to Super League, maybe if you've seen a triathlon before and you're expecting the same, it's not the same. A multiple round league. We finish in Singapore in February with the grand final. This is the last round before then. We cycle through 5 different race formats, and we'll get to them in just a second. Today is the Sprint Enduro. They're all vying over multiple days and equal races and equal prize money for men and women. A slice of $1.5 million US, which is a record for triathlon. Let's have a look at the 5 formats as they are right now. And we had the triple mix yesterday. Today we've got the Sprint Enduro. This is something very new to triathlon. It's very new also to Super League Triathlon, and this is what it's all about. The Sprint Enduro, based on an idea common in sport but new to triathlon. Heats, finals, and all the cutthroat competition that comes with it. That's what Super League asks of its athletes, and this one asks a lot. 2 heats decided by a random draw, pure luck. Each heat takes on a classic sprint try, swim, bike, run. Easy, but only the top 4 in each heat will progress. Add in the next 2 quickest athletes, and the top 10 go on to the afternoon's final. And what a final. 2 back-to-back triathlons, no breaks, 5 transitions, the top 10 in a shootout to determine who takes it all. As always, the elimination rule stands: fall 90 seconds behind the leader through any transition, and that's your day done. This is a true test of all-out pace, all-round endurance. That is the Sprint Enduro. Let's have a look in detail at the Sprint Enduro, the heats, and we'll see highlights of them coming up. They happened this morning. It was a straight-up swim bike run. The top 4 from each heat went through to the final to make 8, as well as the next 2 quickest times overall. And those top 10s, it is a shootout. Swim bike run, a 2-leg enduro, if you like, with 5 transitions and 6 legs, winner takes all. Now, the way we decided on the 2 heats was a completely random draw, and to make sure it was fair, we got the 2 most polite men in triathlon to call out the names or pull them out of a hat, Javier Gomez and Mario Mola. And Mario pulled out maybe some people at the back end of the field who were very happy to be amongst that group. As you can see there, Nathan Killam, Jaden Schofield, Luke Schofield, etc. But Javier, you were not so kind.
I wasn't so kind. I just picked what it could be the final already. So, yeah, but I'm sure it will be fine anyway. Yeah, 9 of the top 10 men all randomly went into one heat, thanks to him pulling out the names. The women's was a little bit, well, it was a little bit more even, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'd say both the heats were relatively even. There may have been a slightly stronger heat with both Kirsten Kasper and Katie Zafiros in there, but yeah, relatively even. All
right, the women's Sprint Enduro is coming up. The men's is coming up in a couple of hours' time, but the women's is coming up very, very soon. So it's time to look back now at what happened in the women's heats this morning.
Brown has the hill, and she'll look to run herself into 4th. Kirsten Kasper's looking for $1,000 in the back pocket. Katie Zafiris is looking to conserve a little bit of energy, so it looks like Kirsten Kasper will be your heat winner. And let's not forget, there is a short shoot available in the final for each of the heat winners. Right. They can take once on the run, either the first or second time in the 6-leg enduro this afternoon. So just maybe a 5-second.
That could be a tactical move. You're very right. I forgot about that. And it was a surgent move. She definitely made a move, and she's probably thinking about that. Katie's been so strong. So strong. This short shoot could play an advantage in this afternoon's racing. It can only be taken in the run in either the 3rd discipline or the last discipline. You just stay close to Katie, and who knows? Because that was definitely a planned move.
Yep, she's taken a little bit of extra energy to pick up $1,000 and a little advantage, which is a big mental boost. And also just being a heat winner is a mental boost taking into this afternoon's racing. And Kirsten Kasper, who at times in the past has copped a bit of flack for not being as aggressive a racer as she probably deserves to be, given her undoubted skill and fitness and tenacity, will be your Heat 1 winner, and a big moment for Kirsten Kasper, who will take $1,000, who'll lead our heat and who will take the short shoot into the afternoon's racing. Katie Zafiris, our championship leader, will also qualify and remain nice and fresh. And it looks like Joanna Brown, who's going to finish the last turnaround on her own, will also qualify behind Rachel Klammer of the Netherlands, who is having a great finish to her 2018 after some flat spots by her own admission in the middle of the season. But great to see her finish strong in 2018. The last race weekend for many of these athletes. Joanna Brown will also progress, and now Emma Jeffcoat knows she needs a good time. And Yuko Takahashi just taking every second she can into 6th position, and it'll be a nervous wait for Emma Jeffcoat and Yuko Takahashi. Let's take a look at the Sprint Enduro heat run results for the women 2013. Very fast from Kirsten Kasper. She gets the short shoot and the $1,000. Katie Zafiris, our championship leader, 13 seconds back. In a measured performance, Rachel Klammer and Jo Brown will both qualify. And a nervous wait coming up for Emma Jeffcoat at 48 seconds back, and Yuko Takahashi as we get ready for Heat 2. Here comes Cook and here comes Reidner. She needs about 10 seconds over the run of the bubble athletes in Heat 1 if she is to make it through to our final. But out the front, Taylor Spivey heads up to Winston for the last time, and she's looked comfortable in this heat ahead of Jodie Stimson, who will also qualify. And it's possible that Summer Cook could run away into 3rd position. She doesn't need to. She just needs to stay in front of Des Reidner in the white. And it'll be Charlotte McShane and Summer Cook who qualify for this afternoon's final. But a valiant effort from the 19-year-old Reidner, who's enjoyed a good weekend off the back of some excellent swims.
Yeah, she sets her entire race up with the swim, and she's able to take advantage of that front group on the bike. I think Des, the worst position Des can be in is switching off right now, thinking, oh, I'm in 5th place, as I'm out of it, and because she's definitely not. She needs to stay focused and run herself through the finish line. She still has about a good 500 metres left of running, and she can pull back some of that time to get herself in that 6th position.
Well, we'll count you down as she crosses the line to see if she can make it in, Desiree Ryder. But right now, Taylor Spivey looks to be in control, and if anything, is accelerating away at the end of this one. She doesn't need to. As long as she wins, she'll take the short shoot and the $1,000 for the afternoon's final. But she's enjoying a very good run here, and she has one dead turnaround before she heads across the finishing line. And Desiree Ryder is the athlete we need to watch. She needs to finish in a better than a 21:07. A 21:01 to beat Emma Jeffcoat's time. But at the moment, Jeffcoat and Yuko Takahashi will be watching Desiree Ryder with eagle eyes, hoping that they can find their way in based on times to this afternoon's final. But right now it's the Taylor Spivey show. She finished 2nd overall yesterday. She had a good weekend out as well in Malta. She missed Jersey, so she's not figuring in the overall standings just yet. But this can do something to change that as she finds herself in the final with a heat win, $1,000, and a shortcut for the final for Taylor Spivey, the American. Jodie Stimson runs into 2nd place. Measuring an effort, Charlotte McShane, after being a little disappointed, as Summer Cook was yesterday, will both qualify as well, and Des Ryder needs to stride it out as much as possible.
Summer Cook in 4th, and as you said, Des Ryder now the clock. Now all eyes on the clock.
Could beat her. 20:38 the winning time for Taylor Spivey. 20:44 for Jodie Stimson. Our 5th placed athlete, Desiree Ryder, as we're waiting for the times to update. Let's take a look at the results from Heat 2. Taylor Spivey finishing in a very fast 20:38. 6 seconds back, Jodie Stimson. Charlotte McShane and Summer Cook will both qualify, and Des Ryder 31 seconds back, which means she was a 21:09, which means she misses out by 2 seconds on Yuko Takahashi, who will qualify along with Emma Jeffcoat on the bubble into this afternoon's final. It is tough out there, especially tough if you're right on the bubble, which Yuko Takahashi was. She got in by just 2 seconds over Desiree Ryder, the 19-year-old qualifier from Poznan. That hurts for Des Ryder. She's young, she'll bounce back. Kirsten Casper at the top of your sheets, though, finished 13 seconds ahead of Katie Zafiris from Taylor Spivey. But importantly, they'll all go through, and Kirsten Casper and Taylor Spivey will take the short shoot by virtue of the fact that they won each of the 2 heats. And that's why you saw Kirsten Casper kick away there at the end. She gets $1,000 for finishing the heat first, so that's nice. But what she does get is the short shoot. And we'll see the course map in just a second, which will show you where the short shoot is, which is essentially a shortcut. It is another wrinkle from Super League Triathlon that's different. It doesn't occur anywhere else. I mean, what do you think about the short shoot? You never got to take the short shoot, first of all. You were never at the front. What was happening, world champ?
Yeah, I wasn't having the best day. I never saw the short shoot in Jersey, unfortunately. But the short shoot here is designed to really give an advantage on the run. It probably gives between 5 to 10 seconds. Both Kirsten and Taylor were tactically really clever in their heats this morning. They'll know that they'll need every advantage they can get to try and beat Katie, who's just been so dominant at Super League. So that was their tactic, and it might well pay off.
Yeah, Katie will probably know that she'll be confident enough to run Kirsten down at some point anyway. Harvey, if you had the short shoot, you're going into a 6-leg race, swim, bike, run, and you had the choice of taking it in the first run or the second run, as they do in this one, do you keep it in your pocket? Is there any situation in which you would take it the first time around?
I think you have to decide that during the race, depending how it's unfolding tactically, and if you can leave it till the last lap, that would be ideal if you are in the front. But you have to see when it's smarter to take it, and that only depends on how the race goes. It's very, think of that, when you're racing your heart rate's 180, it's not easy to take the right decision sometimes.
I'll have to take your word for it, mate. I don't think my heart rate's ever got up to 180. We'll have a look at the course map in more detail right now. And it is a very difficult one, and we made it so. 2 little laps on the swim, different ones, 200 metres around 2 boys, back onto the sand, run about 30 to 40 metres along, and then back into the water. We've seen athletes take different lines, whether it's the quickest into the water or the quickest or the shortest route into the water to the boy. There is the bike. That big line up to the right-hand side of your screen is Mount Mallorca. It's a 13% hill. It is very tough. Not all the way up the hill on the run, but both times on the bike and the run, they'll have to take that other hill, which you can see heading up to the top of your screen there. And the short chute is on the left as well. We are now going to throw down to Annie Emerson as we continue our countdown to the women's Sprint Enduro. She's been giving us insights all across the weekend and all across the season of Super League, and she's down at the swim start right now.
Weather here at Mallorca has definitely saved the best for last because it's near perfect conditions for racing. Alongside me, Kirsten Kasper, second in the overall series, and you had a great heat this morning that meant you got the short chute. How is that going to play out in terms of your tactics later on?
Yeah, this morning that was important to me to get that because any advantage I can get on this final race is I have to take it. So yeah, I'm really excited that I have that, and hopefully it'll play out well.
Okay, Kirsten, now the interesting thing here is that Taylor Spivey also has the short chute. You're obviously great friends, you're teammates, but you're rivals in this. Can you guys work together?
Hopefully, yes. I haven't talked any strategy with her, but if the opportunity presents itself, I will definitely hopefully be able to work with her, and then we can get on that podium.
And in terms of how you've recovered, this is the last race of the season, the last race of the series, the biggest race.
Yep.
Are you looking forward to a little bit of a break afterwards?
Absolutely, but first I got to get through this race, so I'm just going to give it my all since it is the last race and see what I can do.
Great stuff, Kirsten. Wish you loads of luck for later on today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
In the Super League Canada, and the girls have got a big board to lead, some of those big boards compared to mine.
The sun is out here in Mallorca. It has rained all week, but Saturday morning came and the sun was shining, and it continues today. It's going to be fantastic racing. Just to explain the coloured jerseys and what they mean out there, we give the coloured jerseys to the split time winners from the previous round. So the fastest on the run in the previous round, which was in Malta last week, wears the red. The fastest on the bike wears the green. The fastest in the swim wears the blue. That's Emma Jeffcoat again. You can see on the left of your screen. Continues to wear the blue, and the fastest overall, that is our championship leader, wears the pink, and that is Katie Zafiris. Another look at the race format of the Sprint Enduro. We saw highlights just a little while ago of the heats. If you're just joining us, there was 2 heats in the men's and 2 heats in the women's, which was a straight sprint, swim, bike, run. The top 4 in each heat went through to the final, which we're just about to see in the women's, plus the next 2 fastest overall qualifiers for a top 10 shootout. We're seeing stage 2 right now. It is a 6-leg race, swim, bike, run, 5 transitions, 6 legs, no breaks whatsoever. The top 10 are fighting it out, and the first across the line is the winner. Anyone who falls more than 90 seconds behind and any time through transition will be eliminated. Kirsten Kasper, Katie Zafiris and Taylor Spivey are the ones they're all chasing, the 3 Americans. The sole Brit is Jodie Stimpson, the 2014 Commonwealth Games gold medalist. Rachel Klammer, an Olympian from the Netherlands, who's had a fantastic last couple of weeks. Joanna Brown, also a Commonwealth Games medalist from 2018. Charlotte McShane and Emma Jeffcoat, the 2 Australians who are very, very strong, especially Emma Jeffcoat in the water. Summer Cook is 3rd overall in our standings. Had a tough day yesterday, but fought back. And Yuko Takahashi, the Japanese national champion and 2-time Asian champion, she just squeaked into the top 10 by 2 seconds, if you can believe that. But here she is now in the final, and there are our women. Katie Zafiris in the pink, your championship leader, closest to the screen, alongside Jodie Stimpson, who no doubt Vicky Holland, who sits alongside me, will be backing in, and Joanna Brown, who is really enjoying her Super League experience. You can see signatures that she's got all the way up and down her Canadian flag on the side of her swimsuit. Summer Cook in the middle there, who's fighting back from, as I said, a tough day yesterday. There is Joanna Brown looking nice and focused, and she was eliminated late on yesterday. There are the signatures. She's having fun. We've had such a lot of fun over the last couple of weeks. We are 20 seconds away from the start of a 6-leg burner. First across the line will be the win. 25 round points to Zafiris yesterday. She'll know what she needs to do to hold off the chasing pack in terms of points and win this round, and $20,000. We are about to get underway in the women's Sprint Enduro final. Here we go. A clean and straight start. It doesn't always happen like that off a beach start, but everyone seemed to do all right. A couple of extra dives there from Emma Jeffcoat, and to the right of screen in the red is Kirsten Casper, and she has had a fantastic start.
Kirsten Casper there. I was expecting Taylor to go out well on that far left-hand side, and also Katie Zafiras on the far right, but Kirsten really got away to an absolute flyer there. There was one or two didn't seem to enter the water quite as smoothly. I think Jodie would have been a bit disappointed with her sort of run in there. She seemed to stumble a little bit and get a little bit behind very early on, which she wouldn't have wanted. But yeah, Kirsten's straight out there to the front.
Kirsten Casper won one of our heats, so don't forget she has the short chute that you can use on the first or second run. It's a little wrinkle we've added to Super League Triathlon by virtue of a heat win, and Taylor Spivey had a heat win too in the other heat. They get a tiny little shortcut they can use at either time on the run. Of course, they do it through twice, swim, bike, run, and I'd be keeping it in the back pocket. I'd be keeping it for the last run, but we'll see what happens.
I completely agree. If the conditions allow, then having that on the final lap, right at the end, have that little 5 to 10 second advantage at the death is just absolutely invaluable. But the tactics that will play out will be very much dependent on the way the race unfolds itself. If there is a gap that's gone a bit early on, if Katie's going to try and go solo, which we've seen her do in several of the other stages, you might want to be using that short chute a little bit earlier on just to bridge yourself back on. And Kirsten's done that in a couple of races, actually managed to get back up to Katie when Katie's already gone away. So it's a useful little tool to have up your sleeve. She might want to use it early on if the race unfolds in that way, but being able to save it to the end would be absolutely brilliant for her, and would make a hell of a finish.
Great shots there from our boat as Kirsten Casper takes control of this swim, and you can tell it's a quick swim by virtue of the fact that they are just about all in a straight line and jumping on the feet of each other, and they come up onto the beach near where that land swim buoy is.
Yeah, Jeffcoat just in second, I think, and then Taylor Spivey in third with Katie Zafiras in fourth. So all fantastic swimmers. Kirsten actually has some incredible swims, a little bit more probably erratic than she'd like to be in the swim, but she is leading this one out. And as you said, Will, she's dominating this swim a little bit. She's really strung them out. A little bit of a stumble there from Emma coming out the water, and a little gap back to Taylor and Katie. That's definitely something we wouldn't have expected to see, but Kirsten's really done a very, very good job on this.
So Kirsten Casper into the water, and you can see the different line taken by Emma Jeffcoat and everyone coming in behind her, because a little bit to the left, as we're looking at it now, is the faster route to the buoy, but obviously a little bit further in terms of the run required on the beach. So two different lines taken. Kirsten Casper with clear water all around her, and everyone else on the feet of Emma Jeffcoat following her in and hoping that's the train to the front of this swim, at least to bridge that gap to Casper, who is taking control at the front of this race, and I like to see that from her. She's been aggressive and bold early on, and that's something that I always enjoy watching, and we all do enjoy watching, is pushing the pace at the front and not worrying for that tactical worry. As Chris McCormack, two-time Hawaii Ironman world champion, tears himself away from the VIP area and joins us in commentary. Macca, welcome.
I was actually sitting with Kirsten Casper's coach, Jonathan Hall, there. He held me up, and I was asking, with her winning the short chute this morning in the heats, what she was going to employ, whether she'd take that early in the first run or whether she would set the race up. He said she was very primed for a big swim. She's doing that right now, and she's going to follow what Taylor Spivey does. She thinks together that they can both use that short chute and potentially alienate Katie Zafiras for that second swim, but we'll be very interested to see how she takes that.
Seeing them both taking different lines again here. It's really interesting how some people have tried to go for where it gets shallowest quickest, so that they can start dolphin diving, get themselves out and running quicker, given that we know running is quicker than swimming. We saw that when they re-entered the water halfway through that swim. Some of them chose to run down the beach a bit further, just because it meant they could actually run more than they swam, and it meant they could dolphin dive for further.
Well, that's what Jeffcoat's doing there on the right of screen. She's taken that straight line off the buoy. It is a much longer run. We'll see if that pays off for her.
Well, that's the biggest gap, I think, in terms of different techniques that we've seen there between Casper and Jeffcoat. And Jeffcoat, a very accomplished open water swimmer, she will have decided on that, and she ends up coming out just with Taylor Spivey, who was our swim split leader from Malta, and behind them Katie Zafiras, who is our championship leader. Kirsten Casper is currently second in the championship, and if she's going to have any chance of chasing down
Katie Zafiris for that $100,000 prize in Singapore. She needs a big win here. There is no doubt about that.
That's a big gap she's got
really
there.
is.
We've not seen anything like that, I don't think, in any round so far where someone's got that big a gap out the water. And actually, I think that showed that the route that Jeffcoat took at the end there wasn't quicker, because she ended up coming in with Taylor, whereas she was in front of Taylor going back in at halfway around the swim. So I think that shows that the route that Kirsten and the others took was a better one.
We saw yesterday with the triple mix and early this morning in the heats that being out in front like this has a big advantage. You're able to ride through this first lap, take your time up this first climb, and get through that Winston Church Hill. Is that what we call it, Will?
It's split opinion calling it, because there's a church at the top of the hill, and it's Church Hill, and then it became Winston Church Hill. What do you think?
I think he's incredibly witty. Well done.
Thank you so much. It's definitely split opinion amongst the team here at Super League, but we're going to run with it for that. Feel free to get in touch with us if you don't like it, but we're doing our best to mix it up here in Super League Triathlon, and Kirsten Casper is doing that as well as she powers up the hill on her own ahead of Emma Jeffcoat.
You see Charlotte McShane on the left of the screen with Jodie Stimpson, desperate to get across, using the climb to close that gap, and she has. She had a bit of tardy transition, and all the women are back together again.
Yeah, they're just about making it on over the top here, and that's really important. This is such a brutal format, 2 rounds through of swim, bike, run, swim, bike, run. You don't want to be alienated by the time you've come out the swim on the first round through. It's a really long day if you're chasing from there and you're trying to minimise gap deficits from there. Kirsten here just ridden herself off the front, really. She's looking really quite confident and comfortable. I wouldn't be surprised if we see those other girls close in on her, but really dominant racing so far, and just really good to see someone racing with such confidence and just willing to have a go.
And look who's drifted to the back of the pack again, Summer Cook, who was, 4th out of the water. She really struggles on that descent. I spoke to her after this morning's heats, and she struggles on this next climb, this top left-hander. She said she doesn't turn left. We talked about in the heats, she doesn't turn left well. She's more comfortable on the right-hand turns.
Yeah, she's a Zoolander in that way.
She's a Zoolander. She agreed. She struggles. If you watch her here, she lets the gaps open, and it's been a real problem for her. See that?
Yeah, that was not the best turn from Summer there. I also spoke to her, and I think she was almost in two minds as to whether it was a good thing or a bad thing that she qualified for the final. Yeah. I think she's tired. She was very upfront about the fact that it's been a long weekend. It's been a lot of racing. She's tired. She thought, brilliant, I'm in the top 10. That means I'm in the final. But at the same time, gosh, that means I've got to go again in just a few hours. And she was doing everything she could, putting her feet up, lying down in the recovery area for several hours, just trying to get herself ready to go again.
Yeah, there's no doubt the eliminated athletes are availing themselves of the VIP area here, having enjoyed a very long season, and they're enjoying the racing very much as well, watching their compatriots, their rivals, take on the top 10 shootout, the final of this women's sprint enduro. And at the moment, as it was before, it's 9 seconds now from Casper to Spivey and Zafiris. The three of them started, well, they were the quickest in the heats, but Casper's put 9 seconds into the field, and she's doing She's having a very brave race at the beginning of this one. It's a very, very long one, though. We're only in the second of 6 legs.
I don't think Katie Zafiris can really afford to let Kirsten go completely on her own just because she's got that short shoot. And actually that gap there is probably halved up that climb. Yeah. And I'm not surprised to see that. Katie will know that, yes, there's a long race, there's a lot of racing to go still in this one, but she can't afford to let that go.
And Summer Cook is off the back. She's lost that group completely, and I think that was really the work driven by Katie Zafiris to close that gap. They put a lot of the women under pressure, and
it's stringing those girls out. Really, that whole pack is completely splintered as they went up that hill there and then down as they come round up to go up to Winston Churchill.
Yes, welcome on board the Winston Churchill train. Here they go up Churchill, and Kirsten Casper has a look at one of the screens to the side of the course just to see where she's up to, and that gap has closed up. And Katie Zafiris, well, she'd agree with you. From there at the top of the hill, the church you can see in the back of shot right there, that's why we're calling it Church Hill, and that's where it all came from. And there it is, in a beautiful old church it is here in Puerto Cristo on the southwest coast of Mallorca, a beautiful Spanish island, and we've enjoyed our time here immensely staying at the Rafael Nadal Academy. The athletes have had a fantastic time using the facilities and meeting Rafael Nadal as well on Thursday. And Kirsten Casper leads from Zafiris, who had a little wobble there, maybe just went a little tiny bit wide and found herself in the gutter, but manages to pull it back, and it's still an American 1-2-3. No, it's not, sorry. That's Charlotte McShane. Charlotte McShane is in there between Zafiris and Spivey.
See Jodie there in about 5th place, just seems to be a little bit uncomfortable. You can see the exertion written all over her face. Her and Joanna Brown, both of whom had to work quite hard this morning. Jodie had a slightly easier route through. Joanna really had to run hard to get that 4th place in her heat. So she's definitely told me she was tired after this morning's heat.
Rachel Clammer, for the first time, moving up a lot closer to the front. She was sitting a bit further back. She looked to be struggling earlier. I thought it was quite a surprise. I thought she'd really, come into her own on this climb. She's moved up at the right time. I think it's one of those courses. I think Kirsten Casper has been able to get through this course quite comfortably out in front. It's one of those courses where leading isn't really a disadvantage. You get to...
She's been controlling the race.
Yeah, she really has.
It allows you to, I guess, on the bike use the entire width of the road, and we've got 3 dead turns and some 90-degree turns, which there's a real benefit to holding as much momentum through those turns as you can as we turn into the bottom of Church Hill especially. And you'll see that right here as they take a left-hand turn. She can take as wide a line as she wants to. She can hit that apex as much as she needs to, and there's no one next to her. Although, because they're all strung out now in a group of 10, everyone can take the same line. But that doesn't always happen like that.
It just, as soon as someone breaks in the group, especially if they're near the front of the group, it means the person behind has to break a little bit more, the person behind has to break a little bit more, and it just means that if you are in that 8th, 9th position, as we're seeing some of the girls like Emma Jeffcoat right there near the back of the group, Yuko Takahashi, they're having to surge harder every time to then catch back up to that, to concertina that group back together again. That takes its toll. They have to do that 12 times, 12 hills, well, more than 12 corners. So there's all these corners that they've got to every time build themselves back into the group, and that takes its toll on your legs. You've then got to run, and then you've got to get back in and do the whole thing again.
That's what Super League Triathlon is all about.
That's what it's all about. That's why I'm sat here talking about it, and I'm not out there racing it.
Well, these dead turns, as you said, they kill that momentum. You can't roll off, especially the further back in that pack you go, and especially on that right-hander up to that big Church Hill. You kill that momentum. Yeah.
Summer Cook is gone.
That gap's gone out hugely now on that lap, and that would be really disappointing for Summer.
She's really fatigued. She's in danger of falling into that 90-second elimination point.
She's in extreme danger of that. She was 28 seconds gone through the 2nd bike lap, and I think she's losing time hand over fist at the moment. We'll have to wait and see at the next set of splits, but it's going to be a lonely old time for Summer Cook as she battles the 90-second elimination.
She's sitting 3rd in the series so far, which is a big kudos to the girls up front, to the women up front pushing the pace, because I know Rachel Clammer is eyeing off that position, as is Taylor Spivey, who missed Jersey but has been so strong in Malta and here, and that opens this right up. Except Joanna Brown as well looking at that position in 3rd, so with Summer Cook being eliminated.
Yeah, we saw Katie Safiras there just going to the front up that climb, but she's relinquished her position at the front now and given that back over to Kirsten and Taylor. So these 3 American girls are really driving this pack between them, and they're really stringing it out. You can see the 2 at the back there having to struggle to get back on. It's just this constant yo-yoing that really, really will sap your legs in the long run, and there's so much racing still to go. We're not even halfway through yet.
Up the hill they go for the last time in this bike leg. Of course, they'll hit another bike leg a little bit later on, and the legs will be burning even harder. But now Taylor Spivey has taken control of this one. Kirsten Casper sits in 2nd, and it's still America 1, 2, 3, Rachel Clammer 4. And hasn't that just been the story so far over the last couple of weeks? The church in the background at the top of that hill, and we keep saying it, but the television just doesn't do justice to the steepness of that hill, and also to the practical mountain that they have to take on in the back of your shot there, which they'll get to as they head through transition once again. But Taylor Spivey taking a leaf out of her partner Vincent Louis' book and taking control of the race. Louis is our championship leader in the men's.
Into transition.
And we'll see the men's a little bit later as they head into transition, out on the first of 2 runs, and we'll see whether Kirsten Casper decides to take the short shoot when it comes around at the end of the first lap.
Katie Safiras is down.
Safiras is down. That's going to hurt Katie Safiras.
And those girls will be able to hear on the in-house commentary. They'll have heard that. They won't have seen it because they were actually in front of her already. So the 2 main contenders, if you like, given that they've both got the short shoot and they've been racing so well,
and they've gone
Kirsten
for it.
and Taylor, and they've absolutely bolted out of transition because they heard Katie Safiras go down behind them.
A big deep breath from Katie Safiras too. We might be able to get a replay, but that's definitely looked like it took the wind out of her. It was quite a decent trip. And the girls at the front, the women at the front, sorry, have put the hammer down. Clammer chasing And here is Zafiris at the back. And she's just...
It almost seemed like her bike drifted out,
Yeah.
and then she tripped over her own wheel by doing that.
Yep, she's done that on her own. So it happens to the very, very best of us.
And I wonder if these two women on screen, both Taylor Spivey and Kirsten Casper, both have the short shoot. You capitalise on that now, take it together.
I think that's the right thing to do now. I think the way the tactics or the race itself has unfolded, the best tactic would be to really put Katie under immense pressure at this moment, take that short shoot, make her work incredibly hard, which she's going to have to do anyway, given she had that incident in transition.
Yeah.
Make her work even harder to catch you. Both Taylor and Kirsten, fantastic swimmers as well, so they won't necessarily lose anything to Katie when they come to the second swim leg. I think just give yourself a bigger buffer as possible.
Absolutely
Try and work
agree.
together on that second bike leg and make Katie really work for it if she's going to take this title.
This is a situation we have not seen before. We have not seen her make an error like that across the course of the racing. She has had one day where she hasn't won it, but that was due to some fantastic running from Cassandra Beaugrand. But we haven't seen her have to come back from an error like this.
Yeah, this will be a real test of her composure here, and I do think she is the complete athlete, and I do think she will be able to hold her composure and just sort of slowly but surely reel her way back in. But this is where it's up to those other two girls. They need to put the pressure on her now, because otherwise Katie will, with her experience, with her endurance, with her just her supreme confidence in this racing,
They haven't taken it.
And I think that's an error. I
Big
think they
mistake.
should have taken it at that point. I think that was the moment to put the pressure on Katie, because we can see she's closing them back in now.
They would be talking between each other now after that, surely at some point on that run, and go, should we take it at this point?
They didn't seem to be. That would be the first thing you would do. You'd look across, you would say, look, Katie's under pressure. We've both got this together. As you said, Vicky, we both swim well together. There's more power in numbers, and we really put her under pressure. Even if she's to close the gap on the next bike ride, you have to fatigue the legs and pay for that, and it gives us every opportunity to potentially win this race.
All right, Zafiris is doing her utmost to try and cross that gap back. Takahashi and McShane are trying to do the same. They currently sit in 6th and 7th position.
She's having a great race here, Jodie Stimpson. She's been up and down over the weekend. I know she was a bit disappointed yesterday. She said she made an error in the first swim, and it just cost her so big for the rest of the triple mix racing. But she's tucked in there in that group, and if she can go back into the water with them on the second round through, I think she'll be really pleased with that, because it's a really ideal position to be in, a slightly smaller splinter group right at the front of the racing. It's exactly where you want to put yourself.
The one that has hurt a little bit is Joanna Brown. You can see who's just turned the top of the course there. She was in that lead group earlier on, and she's dropped back behind McShane and Takahashi. The bronze medalist from Gold Coast, and Zafiris has got back on. So maybe they'll look back at that, Spivey and Casper, and think we made a tactical error. We should have put the pressure on and just tried to string them out at that point. But maybe they just both looked at each other and waited for the other one to make a move.
Yeah, needed one of them to probably be decisive. If they had decided that whatever one of them did, the other one would do, I think they probably needed to be a little bit more decisive at that moment, a little bit more bold. But Katie now, she's obviously had to work harder than these girls to catch on. She's a fantastic runner, but that will have hurt her. So right now, she's on damage control. She's got to recover. She's got to give herself the next half a lap till she has to go back into the water to just tuck in that group and try and find some rhythm, just be comfortable, catch her breath again.
She seemed to take a sigh of relief as she rounded the bottom of that climb, as if
it was almost visible, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really visible. She's like, I'm on. Let's relax. Let's stay with this group and let's prep for this next swim.
Rachel Clemmer got the goggles on there already.
Jodie Stimpson doing the same. Yeah.
She's got the goggles on now as well. She looks like RoboCop running there at the back of the screen.
She's decided it's better on the forehead.
No, she's gone for the goggles. She's gone for the goggles, Jodie Stimpson. No room for fashion in Super League Triathlon.
And look at that, Safari straight on the front of the run already. Putting herself in good position in this swim. Kirsten Casper beating her out of the water in the opening swim.
And I think Kirsten done such a good job up until this point. I mean, she's put herself right at the front of the race. She's been strong. She's looked pretty comfortable. I just wonder if she should have taken that short shoot a little bit earlier.
Well, she does still have it in the pocket, so that is something to think about. Normally it's Zafiris who has the short shoots in the pocket, which she doesn't this time, but they all get out together in a reasonably clean transition. Shoes off.
If both those girls, Kirsten and Taylor, are actually feeling pretty comfortable, having having that short shoot for the second round is a great thing. I just wonder if alienating Katie, which, if I'm honest, is probably the only way you're going to beat her at the moment, maybe that was the time to use it. If Katie's in this race, I would be very surprised. I mean, as she is in this race, I mean, right at the front of it, I'd be very surprised not to see her really push on the run at the beginning of the final leg.
Taylor
Spivey's taking control there, hasn't she?
Big control. And the issue you have with someone as strong as Katie Zafari is she can really push this next bike ride and make up for the losses that the short shoot have given her. You've seen her do that in multiple races we've had where she's been able to gap them on the bike and set the entire race up. So the short shoot could be nullified if she makes a move now.
Yeah, she really pushes on. I mean, she's a fantastic swimmer as well. She's such an all-round athlete, but she really pushes on the bike, which we've seen her do so many times. That short shoot becomes, null and void. Nothing happens from it.
Kirsten Casper's having a day. She's gone straight to the front. Tyler Spivey moved around on the beach. Was first to enter the water, but Kirsten's gone bang again as she did in the opening swim. Straight to the front and dictating terms.
Really impressive swimming today from Kirsten. She's been at the front the whole way on both swims and looking to control it, really.
Yeah, it's a real marked change in tactics from Kirsten Casper, and I have to say she's gone out there on what is probably her last race of the season, if not second last, as we move into the middle of November very soon. And it's been a long season for all of these women, but she's obviously decided today that she's going to go out there and she's going to control things and she's going to lead from the front. She's going to see what that gives her. And at the moment, Katie Zafiris, our championship leader, is sitting in a nice position. She's found herself after all of that right on the toes. And
that'll be exactly where Katie wants to be. It's a marked advantage to be on somebody's feet, to be second or third in the water rather than be leading it. She had to work a lot harder than she would have wanted to at the end of that first round of the Enduro. She wouldn't have wanted to have that little slip up there and have to really work her way back on. Now she's back on, she'll be recovering. The whole time she's behind Kirsten, she'll be recovering.
The other thing, I spoke to Katie Zafiris in between the heats and the final while she was getting a massage, and she said, look, I know that I don't need necessarily to beat Kirsten in this race to win the $20,000 prize for the overall round points, because yesterday Katie Zafiris picked up 25 points out of a possible 50. There's 25 on offer today. Kirsten Casper picked up 18 for third position, so she has a little buffer there. If they finish 1 and 2, Katie will still win the round, still pick up the 25 championship points for winning the round and pick up the money as well. So
she's 100% right, but the issue is with today's racing, if it comes back on a count back, it's today's race that matters. So if we reverse the order from yesterday and Kirsten Casper's to win this with Taylor Spivey finishing second,
yes,
Kirsten will win the round. So it's she knows that. Both Kirsten and Taylor both have the short shoot, so the ball is in Katie Zafiris' court to catch up, to do something to close that.
The question is, what does Katie Zafiris do? 1, 2 and 3 yesterday they were, with Zafiris 25 points, Spivey 21 and Casper 18. They are 1, 2 and 3 in this one with the equal amount of points on offer, so we could have a situation, I'm not a mathematical genius, but where a couple of people finish on 42 and one finishes on 43, depending on how it all works out. We'll have to get our algebra team into it towards the end of this race, because there is plenty of other contenders and plenty of other women who are very, very quick, but at the moment the Americans are dictating terms, and Casper's in the water first once again.
You just saw there when they came out to re-enter for this second lap, if you like, on the swim, that Rachel Klammer had been a little bit distanced. She was just about dangling there, and then a little bit further back again was Jodie Stimpson. So those two haven't been able to live with the pace on the first part of that swim and will be desperately trying to hold on. They don't want to get distance now. They've made it this far through. That's the group to make. And you can see Rachel's just slightly wide, and I think she'll be really trying to get back onto Taylor's feet, because Taylor is actually the one in third at the moment. Otherwise, it's going to be these three Americans going. It's going to be a duke out between the two who've got the short shoot in Taylor Spivey and Kirsten Casper, and our race leader in Katie Zafiris.
And I think given the short shoot to Taylor Spivey and to Kirsten Casper will just about roughly negate how much better Zafiris is than everybody in the field.
It could be very, very close.
Could be very close, and we're hoping that it is. We're also hoping to see a little bit more of Rachel Klammer, Yuko Takahashi, Jodie Stimpson, as the field continues to string out. The last time, as they finished in the swim, I think Summer Cook was just on the edge of the 90-second mark, so we'll wait to see what's happening with Summer Cook, who's third place in the championship, with Rachel Clammer 2 points behind her and Jodie Stimpson 8 points behind her. So she could see herself, depending on where Jodie Stimpson finishes, as far as going from third to fifth.
Yeah, you can slide down the rankings on a day like today if you don't quite have the day you want, and that's where Super League's unique and quite special in that you've got to always be on your game.
Our 4 jerseys lead the race, and it's interesting. We both agreed that potentially the Taylor and Kirsten have made an error by not taking that short shoot. But this is where the fatigue starts to set in. So taking a short shoot when you are tired, you're not moving as quickly. It suddenly takes a 5-second advantage when everyone's moving quickly and makes it a 7 or 8-second advantage. So it may work out well for them.
Yeah, it's mentally such a harder game as well for someone like Katie. Yeah. If they take that short shoot and then she has to catch back up to them and she doesn't have very long to do it, it just puts her under pressure. It gives her a little bit of panic. And we've seen her race with such composure over the whole weekend that they're probably just trying to hustle her a little bit.
All right, Jodie Stimpson and Yuko Takahashi are trying to tack on to the back of that group of 4 and make it a group of 6, and Kirsten Kasper certainly does not want that to happen as she tries to get... There's no flat space there to get the feet in the shoes, so you've got to kind of get the power and get the feet in the shoes and stay composed, because you hit the hill essentially straight away on the bike, which is another thing to think about.
Yeah,
but again,
really
Kirsten Kasper responds and gets a couple of seconds at the start of the bike.
She's been very, very strong off that transition up that first climb, and the one who's under pressure now is Taylor Spivey, because if Kirsten, as we talked about earlier, if Kirsten Kasper wins this with Katie Zaferes finishing second, even with Taylor taking that short shoot, she doesn't win the round. So it's a question of whether you do the math in your head and think, to win this round, I need this group to come back together, and there's no use just going off the front and winning the race.
I guess at some point you have to realise that you can't control what someone else does. So she can't physically make Taylor be better. She can't make Taylor feel good and catch back on again. And at some point she has to go, well, you know what, it's all about the glory on the day. I'm going to do what I can do and try and win today.
Down the hill they come for the first time. 4 laps on the bike, 2 laps on the run, and we will crown a day and round winner. Still an American 1, 2, 3. Kirsten Kasper has shown us that she can be bold and take control of Super League racing today. Behind her, Zaferes, who I peeked over the top of our screens here and had a look at her as she came into transition, and she was blowing very hard. She's had to work very hard to stay in touch as they go up to the top.
And that aerial shot there shows that Taylor actually is very close to getting onto the back of Katie Zaferes. Not quite, would want to be just a tiny bit closer as they rounded that corner at the top, but she's close enough now, and she'll really, really want to just close that gap up just a few more meters and give herself some time to breathe.
Well, there was questions around Kirsten Kasper and Katie Zaferes in Jersey where she sat off the back of Katie's wheel, and I remember we talked about the free ride, but I think that's been paid back in full today. Kirsten's been on the front of this bike ride all day. She's been on front of the swim, and Katie's really been playing defence.
She's not getting a bit of motorbike drag that Katie might have got a little bit in Jersey on that very, very tight course.
Yeah, there's no motorbikes giving them massive advantage today like there was definitely in Jersey. And Kirsten, absolutely showing that for anybody who ever questioned her, she can ride a bike. She's the complete package as well.
Spivey right back on the back of this pack, along with Stimpson and Clammer, and all of our split leaders are there along with Jodie Stimpson. And in fact, that is your top 5 outside of Summer Cook. All quality athletes and all fighting it out for the honours in the first ever Sprint Enduro in Super League Triathlon Racing.
Jodie found that hill climb very tough.
Yep.
You can tell the athletes who are just getting a bit tired now up the hill, they start to get a bit distanced, really try and race themselves back on down the hill, try and recover. But that's where it's so hard, because on the downhill you do want to be recovering, you want to be freewheeling, you want to just give yourself a second before you have to go up the next hill. But if you're off the back, you have no choice but to push down the hill as well. So it's almost like a double whammy effect of not being on at the top, and then you have to work so hard to get down the hill that the likelihood of staying on at the next one goes down. It
all sounds really, really painful, I have to say.
I think that's how you designed it, isn't it?
Yeah. Looking at the faces, Kirsten looks very composed, as does Taylor, and Rachel Clammer looks better in this race or this round of the bike than she did in the first. She looks a lot more comfortable when she's closer at the front. She's not losing that wheel on this climb where I saw her struggling in the last bike lap. So it'll be interesting to see how this run unfolds with two of them taking the short chute. And potentially others looking at Katie Zafiris and saying, look, I can get a scalp here. If I can take you out, I'm going to.
Kirsten's really stretching them out again there. She's been really aggressive on this ride, actually. It's been really good to see her just assert herself a little bit, and I think she's been technically good. She's used the hill well. She's been very aware, I think, of what's going on in the group behind her and just putting the pressure on the other girls.
She really is.
Yeah, she really is, and she benefits as well from being at the top when they go up the old Winston Church Hill, because they tend to hold each other up a bit. They're going so slow when they get to the top, and they get a little wobbly, and Rachel Clammer paid for that, and Jodie Stimson too, just backing into each other a little bit, and that concertina effect of brakes sees them spread out a little bit, and as it seems to happen over and over, they bunch up again on this hill. Yeah, she doesn't want to be back. And this is going to be a classic run leg to finish off this women's sprint enduro between 5 of the best female triathletes in the entire world. Kirsten Casper, Rachel Clammer, Taylor Spivey, Katie Zafiris and Jodie Stimson. And at the other end of racing, Summer Cook is having a tough day of it, and you can see it on her face. She's coming up the hill on her 3rd bike lap, and she could be very, very close.
It's interesting that she hasn't actually done her shoes up yet. I would have thought when she was
Are they just long straps though?
No, I don't think so. I think when she was fighting to be in the group and stay on the group, that would have been a smart move. Don't bother doing them up until you feel secure and safe in that group. But now that she's off the back and on her own, I would have thought now's a good time. Tighten up your shoes, give yourself a little bit more power transfer through your feet, through your shoes, onto the bike. But no, she's still riding with them undone.
Look at the different cadences.
She'll be about to undo them anyway in a second.
Look at the different cadence on Kirsten Casper, much higher in cadence than Katie Zafiris, and Taylor's just so small, she's able to use the power to weight to get up that climb. But I think that's the big advantage on this right-hand turn.
Here we go.
Behind it. We've got elimination, Summer Cook.
Summer Cook, having had a tough day yesterday and worked very, very hard to make it into the final today, and she had a great race this morning in the heat. She has been eliminated and she has tired legs, and it's showing.
Yeah, that's not the way she would have wanted to end her weekend, but she was very honest about the fact that she didn't enjoy this morning. She had to work very hard to run herself into one of those 4 qualification spots, and yeah, she's tired.
Well, this will be a big last hill for this whole group. If anyone's struggling the most, it seems to be Jodie Stimson. She needs to stay tough on this climb, and I wonder if anyone's going to go off the front and really push the pace. Katie Zafiris is a little bit further back than I thought she'd like to be.
Yeah, Taylor and Kirsten here, I think, making a really big effort. I think they seized the moment, seeing that Katie wasn't near the front of the group round that last U-turn, and they really pushed through transition that lap. Rachel Clammer's jumped across to join them, and here we're seeing Katie having to work hard behind to get herself back onto the group again. Yeah, they're definitely making Katie work for it today. They're not going to hand it to her, and that's really good to see. We didn't want this to be a walkover. We didn't want it to be a whitewash, and we're definitely getting the race we wanted to see.
Last lap on the bike. Jodie Stimson has waved goodbye to Yuko Takahashi, who is now nearly 30 seconds back. She's lost all that time on the bike. She was with Stimson, but Stimson crossed the gap, and Takahashi, you can see, labouring up the hill on her own, wasn't able to go with her. So it's a race in 5 for the honours here in the Sprint Enduro.
There is still another little gap. It just keeps opening up now, this gap between Rachel Clammer in 3rd place in that group and Katie Zafiris in 4th, and every time that gap happens, Katie has to close it again. It just saps a little bit more out of her legs, and as Chris mentioned, Katie has a much slower cadence when she climbs the hills, which would just be her style. It'll be the way that she does it. She's a very strong athlete. She's a very muscly athlete, but I do think that over this amount of hills over a whole weekend, it hurts.
I'm sure it does. All of our split leaders and Jodie Stimson.
This is going to be a run.
It is going to be a fantastic run. Just a reminder that both Kirsten Casper and Taylor Spivey, your athlete from the US in the red and your athlete in the blue, the 2 at the front of the group right now, both have a shortcut up their sleeves. We call it the short chute, and they'll take it on the first lap of this last run.
Or the second.
There is the turnaround that You can see it in the middle of your screen right now. The big inflatable black Super League marker.
It's a 6-second advantage according to the runners, so it's a big advantage over a 1.7-kilometre run.
Yeah, that's a massive advantage over. Proportionally, it's huge.
Yes.
You know, to have that advantage, and how they use that now. That's going to be really interesting. Katie, interestingly, there, 5th in. She's not been at the back of that group pretty much the whole day.
Kirsten Casper made a mistake there, didn't quite rack her bike properly, and that cost her just a second or two, and Taylor Spivey has taken control at the front of this one, and we know how good a runner she is. The question is now who can respond. Jodie Stimson moving up on Kirsten Casper's arm, and at the back of that pack is your championship leader. Now, don't forget that Taylor Spivey, she only has 13 championship points by virtue of the fact that she was not in Jersey. So she could take the win here. She could take the round win as well. She took second yesterday, first today, and you'd have to say, if she does that, no matter where Katie Zafiris finishes, Taylor Spivey will be your round winner and take 25 championship points.
And she's gone hard there as well. She's not holding back at all. She's absolutely gunned it out of transition. She knows that if she wants to win this, there's no time for her to waste. She has to go now. Whether she's got that short shoot or not, she needs to push on, and she's done that.
Katie's gone straight to the front, realises the danger. Kirsten Casper's glanced across at her coach, Jonathan Hall. That's him in the corner with the black hat yelling, what do I do here? I think she needs to follow Katie up. They need to close this gap to Taylor Spivey. If she's looking at winning this race, she has the short shoot, but she needs to close the gap.
And Katie Zafiris, if she finishes second and Taylor Spivey finishes first, as we eliminate another athlete, and it is Emma Jeffcoat. If Taylor Spivey wins and Zafiris finishes second, they finish on the equal amount of round points. But because Taylor Spivey will have won Sunday, she will have won this round, and she will take the maximum championship points and the big money prize. Katie Zafiris knows this, and she has dropped Kirsten Casper, and it is a race in two at this point between Taylor Spivey and Katie Zafiris, but Spivey is about to take the short shoot, as is Kirsten Casper. She's going to take it right now. She's going to turn around, and Katie Zafiris will have to. She hasn't taken it. She's made an error. Casper knows that she can.
She can take it a first or second lap.
Oh, she can take it.
Yes.
Take it on the
all right,
second lap.
take it on the second lap.
Kirsten's made a really. I think that was the best move for Kirsten.
Yes,
there, because she was
Yep.
already off the back. She needed that shoot to get herself back into contention. Taylor's still got that up her sleeve, but you can see the gap that has caused. That's a big advantage, that short shoot.
But Taylor now has that up her sleeve, so on the road she could be in front of this race. It's going to be interesting to see when we see the shoot. Katie Zafiris straight to the front, has to run this gap down.
Katie's really under the pressure here. She knows that she's got to hunt down Kirsten. Kirsten's now, in real time, that is how far she's in front of her. But Taylor's got more time to gain on her. So it's a really hard position for Katie to be in right now. Not really knowing how the short shoot's going to play out when Taylor takes it. Can she catch up to Kirsten, who's already taken it? It's a really nice position for Kirsten to be in, actually, sort of running off the front. That'll give her some confidence and some motion in her legs, maybe, that she didn't have just 2 minutes ago.
She's all in now. She has to be all in.
Yeah, there's no other option now.
Big crowd enjoying this, the end of an amazing women's sprint enduro, and Kirsten Casper, who has led much of this race, knows that Taylor Spivey has the short shoot up her sleeve. She'll know how much ground she just made up, and she'll know she has to have at least that as she comes around the top of the course and comes in to transition for the last time, and she is pushing it up this hill. Katie Zafiris in second.
First time I think I've seen Katie look uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Her face is not portraying that, calm, cool, collected persona, demeanour that she's had the whole racing, pretty much the whole of Super League Series. But this is the first time I've seen Katie look a little bit laboured and not quite as comfortable.
Kirsten has to use this downhill, which she really is. She's open right up. She's got to keep that distance between her and Taylor Spivey, because if Taylor takes that short shoot, which she doesn't have to, she'd be crazy not to, but she has to take it on this loop. I think they could come out almost together, and we're going to see a match race for the win, I think.
It's going to be a great finish coming in. So Kirsten's rounded that bottom corner now. She has to come all the way to the far end, but you can see that large inflatable there. That's where Taylor's going to turn round. So when they actually all link back up together, who's going to end up where?
Oh, it's like a Formula One pit stop, and we don't know who's going to come out in front of who. Kirsten Casper's running. Taylor's going to take the shortcut. She's going to come out in front. And Taylor Spivey takes the lead, and she's going to run away with it, you would think. If Spivey takes the 25 points, she'll end up on 46 for the weekend. And then it's a matter of what happens behind her. Zafiris is gone. Casper's going to come second, you'd think.
Taylor is sprinting through transition here. She's still got to go up the hill, U-turn, back down again, but she's absolutely all in. She's really sprinting here. She doesn't want to give Kirsten a chance.
It's not over. You've still got 250 metres of running here, a slight little uphill with a downhill to the finish. A lot of guys ran it this morning in the corporate relay, and a lot of people struggled right here, but
Taylor Spivey.
You can see it on her face,
Yeah.
but she's
not gonna struggle.
going. She's going to win this now, I think. I think this is going to be hers.
I think you're right. I think Taylor Spivey is going to run it home. She is going to do it, and she's going to win the round as well. Taylor Spivey is going to end up with 46 points. Second yesterday,
Brilliant racing,
and
Taylor.
first today. Taylor Spivey. Fantastic
Great
work, and she wins the round. Kirsten Casper comes in second after such an aggressive race. Look at Taylor Spivey. She has given absolutely everything over this weekend. Katie Zafiris finishes third.
That is
And
something
she
we're
picks
not
up
used to seeing.
43 points as well overall, which means that she will actually finish third overall in the weekend, equal with Casper on 43, but Casper finishes above her today.
I don't think any of us called those
we called-
results the way that it actually panned out, those combination of the two events. That's what's done it for Katie, because Katie and Kirsten have ended up on the same amount of points, if our very quick maths is correct.
Well, there's a lot of scribbling on my sheet of paper, and I hope I have got that correct. We'll get the official results in just a second. Rachel Clammer came in 4th position and Jodie Simpson 5th. And these women have given absolutely everything to this weekend's racing. And you can't ask for more than that. And Taylor Spivey, second yesterday and first today in the women's, the first ever women's sprint enduro in triathlon ever. Takahashi, the Asian champ, the Japanese champ, she finishes in 6th position. And Charlotte McShane brings it home after a tough day out yesterday in 7th position. 3 of our women got eliminated. Joanna Brown, Emma Jeffcoat,
Summer Cook.
and Summer Cook. I'm just thinking back. That's right, Summer Cook, who had a tough day out. But Taylor Spivey is your Mallorca Round 3 Super League Triathlon champion, and she earned every single metre of that.
She did. She worked incredibly hard for that. And whilst myself and Chris both felt that her and Kirsten should have utilised that short shoot on the first lap, from the first run of the Enduro, it proved to be perfect tactics really to take it when she took it. And yeah, she really dug in hard for those final sort of 400-500 metres. And you could see the pain etched across her face, but I'm sure she's absolutely delighted.
All right, let's have a look at the official results. Taylor Spivey coming in a tick under 40 minutes. Kirsten Casper and Katie Zafiris. America 1, 2, 3. Rachel Clammer in 4th. Jodie Simpson in 5th. Yuko Takahashi and Charlotte McShane just avoids elimination with a 1:27, just under the 90-second rule. And Annie Emerson is down on course with Taylor Spivey, who's just about caught her breath.
Taylor, what a race. It is so much more than swim, bike, run. There is so much to take in. How do you do it? How do you keep your cool?
Oh, I don't know. The American girls especially really pushed me on that bike course, and it was so hard. And, you know, I really didn't think I would take the win today, but luckily I think hard courses and steep hills played to my strength, and that short shoot really helped me take the tape.
At what point did you decide to take it on the last run?
I knew I needed, as big of an advantage as I could on Katie, and if I took it too early, I think she'd have someone to chase. So I just hoped I played my cards right, and I definitely did today.
The American girls have been so strong right across the board, particularly in World Triathlon Series racing as well. So what does it feel like to come here and come out as the top girl from America?
Oh, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, Kirsten and I were really lucky to have the short shoot today. Otherwise, I think Katie would have won. But, we raced really well this morning, and it played to our advantage today.
Did you see Katie's mishap in the first transition?
Yeah. Whenever she has a mishap, she always seems to come back even stronger. So she's a fighter in the race, and she's always one to beat.
And last thoughts on the World Triathlon Series?
I'm really happy with my consistent season, and this is my last race of the 2018 year, and I'm really happy to win.
Great stuff. Massive congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, your Super League Triathlon Round 3 winner is Taylor Spivey. Congratulations to her. She mentioned the short shoot there, and this is the moment that she took it. Kirsten Casper was forced to use the whole course, and Taylor Spivey, she kept it in her back pocket. We thought maybe it wasn't the right thing to do, but once you see that there's no one in front of you and you've got 500 metres to run, well, you'd back Taylor Spivey at any point from there.
Not only did she take it, she made that turn and committed to a sprint. When Kirsten took it, she still had a lap to go, so it was more a take the shoot and settle into your rhythm. But Taylor turned that short shoot and put the hammer down, used the downhill, because on road, it was probably only 1 or 2 seconds apart. It was magnificent.
I still don't think that Kirsten Casper did the wrong thing in taking it when she did. She attacked as she attacked all day, and she was a very worthy second place getter in the end, but Taylor Spivey just had a little bit too much in the tank.
Yeah, Kirsten was really brave, and she was a little bit distanced on that first lap of the run second time through, and it was the perfect thing for her to do, to take that short shoot then, put herself right back at the front of the race, make the others chase her. It was the right card for her to use. It just meant, unfortunately, Taylor was better on the day.
They were 1 and 2 in the championship. Zefiris and Casper, they've taken the win away from them. Taylor Spivey did, but 1 and 2 in the championship behind her. You'd have to say Spivey would be figuring in the championship if she was in Jersey. But Katie Zefiris comes across the line in third. She finishes third overall for the weekend, and 1 and 2 in the championship are both right now with Annie.
Wow, Kirsten, the first thing I've got to say is what a race. You come into your own in the Enduro.
Thank you. Yeah, I like this format, and to be honest, I just went out there and tried to give it my all and just race from the front.
It really looked to us though you got the better of Taylor. You had a big gap, you came flying down that hill, so was it a bit of a shock to see her sort of charge off in front of you? She chose to take, of course, the short shoot sooner or later than you did, rather.
I lost a couple of seconds in T2, my bike fell over, and I think that cost me probably the race and running for first. I took it on the first lap to try to give myself those seconds back, but Taylor's a strong athlete and she had it today.
Well, Katie, congratulations for the series win, but not the win here today. I know that's got to be a bit of disappointment, but I know for the organisers, they're going to love the fact that you caused a little bit of drama for us.
Yeah, I mean, this was just such a tough race, and before just coming into it, I really felt not great, and I'm actually really proud of how I did. I knew Kirsten and Taylor, I know how awesome they are, and with the short shoot, holy moly, that made it way more difficult.
Tell us about that fall. We saw it. It was almost like you had a crash with your bike.
Yeah, I mean, it was just me. It was my fault. I still have no idea what happened, but I ended up going basically like head first and just did a tumble. I recovered pretty quick and got on the pack, but it sure costs, I'm sure, some energy just to catch up after that.
I'm going to say very commendable because you had a little bit of a gap and you managed to run yourself back in. But I guess there you paid the price, didn't you, really, perhaps for the rest of the race?
Yeah, in these types of races, any gaps you let form are going to cost so much energy, and that combined with just trying to catch up and going after these guys, it's hard.
Well, congratulations, both of you. Fantastic racing. Well done.
Thank you.
It was fantastic racing, just confirming that Katie Zefiris is not your championship winner. She's your championship leader, though, as we head into Singapore and the grand final in February. She'll have, I think, an 11-point lead, which has dropped down from 14 points by virtue of Kirsten Casper's efforts today. We're going to have a look back at the highlights right now as we look ahead also to the men's race, which is going to be an absolute cracker. But it was a nice clean start, and from the very beginning to the left of your screen, after a couple of dolphin dives, Kirsten Casper took the lead to the first buoy, and she didn't relinquish it for much of this race. She was first out of the water. She was first out of transition as well. Taylor Spivey was there or thereabouts, and it didn't take long for a group to form, as this hill tends to do. Joanna Brown on the back and Yuko Takahashi, they'd have a battle, and each of them would get dropped. And speaking of getting dropped, Katie Zefiris also found the black carpet, but she, as you say, as Kirsten Casper said, Taylor Spivey, she just keeps coming back stronger, and she was back at the front of this race soon enough.
Yeah, that was something that was quite impressive to watch. She just seemed to gradually get herself back up to the front, seemed calm. As we're seeing here on the graphic, she got herself back into second position. She rode really nicely right behind Kirsten the whole way. She played herself tactically very well. She just couldn't outrun those two girls who had that short shoot.
Yeah, the Americans, and I hesitate to say this because the Brits are the other leading superpower of triathlon, women's triathlon at the moment, and one sitting right next to me, the world champ, but the Americans dominated today. That was Casper, who took the short shoot on the first lap of the final run, and she enjoyed a lead throughout that lap. We didn't know whether or not she'd have enough to hold off Spivey, who also had the short shoot, and it turned out that Taylor Spivey had it in the tank today. She picks up 25 championship points to add to her 13 to go through and rocket herself up the leaderboard. Zafiris will retain her lead overall. It is time now for the podium, though. We've got a race win and a round win, and these women will feature in both. It's time now to throw down to our MC for the women's Sprint Enduro podium.
Ladies and gentlemen, may we present to you the ceremony for Super League Mallorca Day 2 Sprint Enduro. Representing the Rafa Nadal Sports Centre, we have Antonio presenting the medals. Ladies and gentlemen, in third place for this afternoon's race, USA's Katie Zafiris. In second place, and our silver medalist, USA's Kristen Kasper. Race winner for Super League Mallorca Day 2 Sprint Enduro, USA's Taylor Spivey.
Is this the order that they won then? Oh, okay.
A great race from these three amazing American women. It's certainly a good time for female triathlon in the USA. Kasper, Spivey and Zafiris. And a great race especially from Taylor Spivey, who rockets up our leaderboard after having not been involved in Jersey. Katie Zafiris will retain her championship lead, but it will be cut by 3 points overall to Kirsten Kasper, and Summer Cook is going to disappear down the leaderboard, I think 3 spots. As we head soon to the women's overall round podium. Shots of Mallorca as the weather holds here for the men's race, which is coming up in just a little bit. We're reshuffling the athletes as they change steps because the cream rose to the top, and those athletes will all be involved in the overall podium as well. And a great crowd's turned out here in Mallorca in Puerto Cristo. We're going to head back now to our MC for the women's overall round podium here in Mallorca.
Ladies and gentlemen, may we present you the ceremony for the Super League Round 3 overall Mallorca. Presenting the trophies will be Leonid Bolowski, chairman and co-founder of Super League Triathlon. In third place from the United States, Kristen Kasper. In second place from the United States, Katie Zafiris. Race winner and champion of Super League Mallorca, USA's Taylor Spivey. I'd like now to call upon Noella to present the checks. Oh, still more. I would now like to call upon Maribella from Rafa Nadal Sports Centre to present the winner's champagne.
$20,000 for Taylor Spivey, a worthy winner across the course of this fantastic weekend of racing. Big checks as well for Katie Zafiris and Kirsten Casper. America 1, 2, 3. What a race weekend it was for the women. Not long now until the men's get underway, 2 p.m. GMT. And a great champagne spray as well to finish off the season on behalf of Chris McCormack, Annie Emerson, Vicky Holland, Javier Gomez, Mario Mola, and myself, Will McCloy, and the entire Super League team. We hope you've enjoyed the women's racing. Join us very soon for the men's Sprint Enduro.
What better place is there to be on a Sunday afternoon than right here in Mallorca? Porto Cristo, a town on the southeast coast and the site of round 3 of Super League Triathlon. We were in Malta just a week ago, but plenty of sore bodies have arrived here in Mallorca for 2 days of racing. We had the men's and women's triple mix yesterday. Just an hour ago, we had the women's sprint enduro, but the men are coming up for their sprint enduro in just a few minutes' time. And yesterday, it was Henry Schoeman's day, the South African, the Commonwealth Games gold medalist. He capitalised on a mistake from Frenchman Vincent Louis and made it happen with 25 points for the day. He is on now the verge of an overall win if he can make it happen again today in the sprint enduro. Now, just a few minutes ago, Taylor Spivey of the US, she was the one also wearing the blue jersey as the swim leader who took out the overall race of the sprint enduro, and because of that also took the win, and she picked up $20,000 for her time. Here is the results and now championship points for the women after 3 rounds. We have 1 round to go in Singapore in February. Katie Zafiris, the American, still leads and extends her lead over Kirsten Casper, also of America. Rachel Clammer moves up into 3rd, Taylor Spivey to 4th, Jodie Stimson to 5th, and Summer Cook drops from 3rd all the way down to 6th ahead of Joanna Brown. So plenty of movement in the women's championship standings. Now it's time to decide the men's championship standings with the sprint enduro. My name is Will McCloy. Alongside me, reigning Olympic gold medalist Alistair Brownlee and reigning world champion Mario Mola. If you don't mind, plenty of talent here. And what a day it was yesterday. Henry Schoeman, as I said, capitalised on a mistake from Vincent Louis. How good was Louis' race? But Schoeman got the chocolates in the end.
Yeah, I think Schoeman was fantastic from start to finish. He got out early, managed to control the race. I think that said, you know, if Vincent hadn't had that mistake, probably at the worst possible opportunity for him, I think it would have been very close, and I think he would have had a good chance of taking it. Yeah,
it happens to the best of us. He dropped a chain at the bottom of the hill that heads up to the church here, and we'll get to that in just a second. But a good day's racing, Mario. You've raced this course. You raced it in the age group race, in the amateur race, I might add, a world champion alongside another world champion, Javier Gomez. Tough course and tough racing yesterday.
Yeah, it is. We have to see how these guys recovered from yesterday. It's not only the course is really hard, but you go through it many times, so that ends up hurting your legs, and yeah, we'll see how they are today.
Climbing up hills many times hurt your legs. That's exactly what happened. Now, Johnny Brownlee, your brother, little brother, on your bike, I might add, because his bike did not arrive on the plane for the first time ever. He finished in 3rd position. Have you talked to him? How's he feeling today?
Yeah, I think he's probably pretty happy with yesterday. He had a good race. A few little mistakes going through transition and stuff, but I think everyone that has those in this Super League format, and yeah, hopefully he recovered well last night and he's in a good state of mind for today.
Yeah, he certainly seems happy. He's running up hills like the Johnny Brownlee of old. He's enjoying his racing again. There's Vincent Louis in the pink, our championship leader. Johnny Brownlee's wearing the red because he's our run leader. He's got that classic Brownlee run up on the toes coming down hills once again. Now, today it is the Sprint Enduro. It is a format that we have never done before. The first time in Super League Triathlon or any triathlon. One of 5 formats that we run through at each of the 4 rounds. We pick 2 each of the race weekend to try and mix things up. And this is what the Sprint Enduro is all about.
The Sprint Enduro, based on an idea common in sport but new to triathlon. Heats, finals, and all the cutthroat competition that comes with it. That's what Super League asks of its athletes, and this one asks a lot. 2 heats decided by a random draw, pure luck. Each heat takes on a classic sprint try, swim, bike, run. Easy, but only the top 4 in each heat will progress. Add in the next 2 quickest athletes, and the top 10 go on to the afternoon's final. And what a final. 2 back-to-back triathlons, no breaks, 5 transitions, the top 10 in a shootout to determine who takes it all. As always, the elimination rule stands. Fall 90 seconds behind the leader through any transition, and that's your day done. This is a true test of all-out pace, all-round endurance. That is the Sprint Enduro.
The Sprint Enduro mixing things up in triathlon once again. We had the heats this morning. It was a swim, bike, run. The top 4 from each heat go through to the final. That makes 8, and then we add in the next 2 fastest times overall for a top 10 shootout. 6 legs, 5 transitions. Winner takes all. The 90-second rule in effect if you fall behind, and we saw 3 women fall foul of that in the women's Sprint Enduro final, and there were gold medalists and bronze medalists among them as well. Now, how it was worked out in the 2 heats. It was an entirely random draw. We kind of thought that some of the best would go into each side. Javier Gomez, 5-time world champ, Mario Mola alongside me. They picked the names out of a box. And Mario, politest man in triathlon, he picked an easy draw, didn't he? And Javi picked a tough draw.
I did my best to make things easier as possible for these guys, but it was random and it was good because I didn't have to choose. It was whatever it came up, it's what it was, and definitely we saw how one of the heats was really hard on paper.
You were very kind to Johnny Brownlee, along with Martin Van Riel. They were the favourites from one heat, but 9 of the top 10 men in the championship standings all went into the same heat. Can you believe that?
Yeah, what are the odds of that happening?
I don't know. Absolutely unbelievable. How good for Johnny, though?
Yeah, I think he was very happy with that. We'll see what the effect of it is this afternoon, but I think firstly it managed, he could cruise through the heat, hopefully, and hopefully that means he's got a bit more confidence and a bit more energy going into the race this afternoon.
All right, the heats have already happened. We're going to have a look back right now at how the 2 men's Sprint Enduro heats, stage 1, played out.
Johnny Brownlee, second last turnaround coming now. He looks behind him and sees no one, and that is the best thing to possibly happen to a triathlete, is to look behind you and see second. A lot of space in between. Nathan Killam coming around for his first lap, and he is giving everything he's got, but our leader,
Johnny switched right off.
Johnny Brownlee, and unfortunately Killam will be eliminated on the last lap of the run.
He's right in front of us.
Right in front of us, hands on knees. There he is. Unfortunate for Killam. Johnny Brownlee runs past for the last time.
Johnny actually said a couple of words to Michael Brown, our race director. Something on the course, it looked like. He's very comfortable. If you're noticing little things like that, you're comfortable. Igor Polyansky will be through the final. Tommy Zaferis and Martin, unreal. This boy on screen, that young Belgian, is a big talent. And I'm expecting him to do some big things in his final this afternoon.
We're going to call him Unreal?
Martin Unreal. He is really, really good. Really good. A very, very polished athlete across the board.
Here we go, Jonathan Brownlee. He kicked early on in the run. He dropped Martin Van Riel, and he will take the $1,000. And importantly, he will get the short shoot as the winner of Heat 1 of the Sprint Enduro here in round 3 of Super League Triathlon Mallorca. Igor Polyansky, his spot in the final is safe after a great swim. He held on in a group of 4, which also included Tommy Zaferis off the back of a great swim. He'll be in our final, as will Martin Van Riel, the Belgian, stage winner yesterday, and today he gets a spot in our final. Let's take a look at the results from Heat 1. A great run from Jonathan Brownlee. He'll pick up the short shoot and the $1,000. Igor Polyansky, Tommy Zaferis and Martin Van Riel all jog at home and make it through. João Pereira and Luke Schofield face a nervous wait as Heat 2 comes up. Vincent Louis heads down the Winston Churchill for the last time. Behind him, Henry Schoeman. These two you'd expect are going to be safe. Definitely Louis will be safe and head through to our final this afternoon. And he just looks comfortable, Vincent Louis. Henry Schoeman in the background. We've seen that a few times across the course of the racing. And he will pick up the short shoot and the $1,000 if it does indeed stay this way, barring a mishap. The real race, though, is happening behind him with Henry Schoeman, who takes a wide line there coming around that turn to try and just keep his pace up. Richard Murray, a much narrower line. They're very different athletes in very different ways around that corner.
What a great run by Ben Canute, who's holding on to 4th just off Richard Murray. He's running himself in front of Leo Bergier, who's put himself into trouble. Hayden Wild's moving up to get that 6th spot. And it's Tyler Mislachok who is going to miss out even through this 6. But Ben Canute is treating this like a final, and he's going to put himself into the final. But look at Hayden Wild's eyeing him off.
Absolutely punching it.
He's eyeing him off.
And he needs to. High fives for Vincent. He'll come home in top spot. And Hayden Wild and potentially Ben Canute, just depends on who's in 5th and 6th. Need to beat the 1912 of João Pereira, and will time them down. Your winner of this heat will be Vincent Louis, who jogs at home, picks up $1,000, will bring the short chute, gestures to the crowd.
Ben Canute through to the
comes
final.
in fourth, and he'll be one of our finalists.
Hayden Wild and Leo Bergier will have to watch the clock.
Yes, they will, and we'll get their times in just a second. They need to beat the 19:12 of João Pereira and the 19:26 of Luke Schofield, and we'll wait to see. But Canute, Louis, Schoeman and Murray are your top 4 through to the final. Here are the official results for Heat 2. The times all important. Vincent Louis, Henry Schoeman, Richard Murray, Ben Canute all go through, and Hayden Wild and Leo Bergeret are your 2 quickest overall athletes from the 2 heats. Outside of the top 4, they'll both go through, and that heat was so quick that the top 9 all would have qualified. But there is the vagaries of the Sprint Enduro. Two quick heats, but one much quicker than the other. And there is your top 10 qualifiers. About 40-odd seconds, or just nearly 40 seconds between them. Vincent Louis in 18:19. That's very quick around this course. Henry Schoeman, Richard Murray, the 2 South Africans, 1, 2 and 3 in the championship standings as well. A great race from Ben Canute. Unlucky people like Tyler Mislachuk, Andreas Schilling, Matt Sharp all had fast times, but missed out by the slot draw or the heat draw. And Annie Emerson is down on the start line right now, and she's with Johnny Brownlee, who has a short shoot by virtue of winning one of the heats.
Well, a few tired faces round here, but one athlete that's from strength to strength. Johnny Brownlee, you have had a good weekend, haven't you? And you have the short shoot. You've got to be pretty excited about it.
Yeah, well, so far I've had a good weekend in 2 ways. I've had a bit of luck in the heat this morning. It was the easier of the 2 heats. And then yesterday I had a good leg, so yeah, I'm looking forward to racing again today. It's everyone's final race of the year, and there's a lot of tired bodies today because that's part of Super League racing, and it's about who's going to be the best with those tired legs.
In terms of how you had to race this morning, you had a little less pressure. Do you think that's going to help you going into this final race? A little bit less tired, perhaps?
Well, there's 2 things. A little bit less pressure, so I knew I was on the start line enjoying it a little bit more, and I didn't have to run as fast as the other guys. I could run half for KSO and then go a bit easier, so hopefully I'm a bit fresher, but we'll see.
Great stuff, Johnny. I think you've got to go and get started now. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Johnny Brownlee, for your time. Here is the map here in Mallorca. It is an odd swim. 2 boys out, back in, run along the beach, and then back out for another 100 metres. So 200 and 100. The bike, that long uphill there at the Carrera de Embordis is about 13%, if you can believe that. Some tight dead turns and on the run as well. There's a short shoot at the other end of your screen on the left-hand side. A little shortcut for Johnny Brownlee and Vincent Louis by virtue of their winning Heat 1 and Heat 2. But there is 2 huge hills, absolutely no flats, plenty of dead turns, and some really nasty 90-degree turns, especially downhill out of the Church Hill and back onto the flat, or what there is of it. Now, a few different coloured jerseys out there. Here's what they represent. Our pink is our current rankings leader. That's Vincent Louis, and it has been all the way through Super League Triathlon. The green is our bike leader. The red is our run leader, and the blue is our swim leader. All those based on their times from the previous round in Malta. A reminder of the format of the Sprint Enduro. We saw some highlights of the heats just then. The top 4 of each heat advanced to stage 2, which is the final, along with the next 2 fastest athletes. And that was Tommy Zafiris and Martin Van Riel. And this one, the final, 6 stages. Swim, bike, run, 5 transitions. Winner takes all at the end of that. Absolutely no break. 3 women fell foul of the 90-second rule in the women's Sprint Enduro final. We'll see if the same thing happens here. Anytime through transition that they fall more than 90 seconds back, that is the day over. But it is time now for the final race of Super League Triathlon Round 3 here in Porto Cristo, Mallorca. A fantastic venue for racing. New ground for triathlon, and that's what Super League tries to do, especially with this format, the Sprint Enduro. Some very tired but very nervous bodies out there looking to finish their season with a bang. So much talent in this lineup of 10 men, and it is almost impossible to call. Here we go, the men's Sprint Enduro. They are into the water, a clean start. A couple in the middle got a little bit of a head start on the others.
Yeah, I don't know who that was. Who there?
Tommy Zafiris.
Yeah, right in the middle, whoever that was. They had a absolutely, not just the starters, running in the water and some great dolphin diving and getting out fast. There's Polyansky, you can see there on the left or to his right, whoever the leader is.
I think it is Zafiris. He doesn't have the... He's just brand new to Super League. He doesn't have the
flags. Yeah, so that's Polyansky there, who's coming up right up on him, and yeah, this field has only got only the 10 guys in it, so it's less. So the swim, in theory, should be actually a lot less rough, and the guys should be able to get on and swim. But that said, it is the quickest 10 guys, so they're all pretty close. Polyansky getting.
Polyansky, yeah, it is Zafiris on the back. Polyansky. And I saw Johnny on the right. He didn't get as good a start as I think he was hoping. On the far side, Vincent Louis, who got a great start and can make up for any issues he does have moving up there on the right of screen as they come around this second buoy. But Polyansky's been roaring out the blocks on these beach starts. I think he prefers this in the pontoon. He tends to get beaten up a little bit, but he's led most of the swims over the weekend. And that's sort of all we've really seen of him after the swims. He tends to drift backwards on this more technical bike course, but he really likes these beach run starts.
He did very well in the heat to position himself in a group of 4 along with Tommy Zafiris and got dragged away from the pack with Martin Van Riel and Johnny Brownlee in that first of the 2 heats. So tactically he was good, and that for Zafiris and Polyansky was based on a great swim, and they managed to just get taken away on the bike, and that was the end of it.
Well, they knew with Johnny and Martin both in that first heat, they were the tickets to the final. They just had to mark those men, and they did that very comfortably. And I think that bike ride, I guess, is going to be a very, very different bike ride now. This is the final. Those boys were able to control that in that first loop, set up that group of 4, and they weren't chasing those 6 through. There was no way that first heat was going to be the fastest.
Henry Schumann isn't anywhere near the front.
Really is.
He's actually quite far back. It's definitely the furthest. We see Richard Murray kind of swimming last man there, and just in front of him in the blue jersey is Henry Schumann, which isn't the position we'd expect to see, and so maybe he isn't feeling too good today, and he has actually been a bit unwell, but we'll see now over this next 5 minutes, I guess.
Polyansky and Zafiris lead us out of the water ahead of Martin Van Riel.
Great swim from him.
Vincent Louis, Ben Canute, Jonathan Brownlee, and they go back into the water again. Both Zafiris and Polyansky having a look behind them and wondering where Henry Schumann is, I think. And he said he was feeling better this morning. I saw him at breakfast. He wasn't feeling too good yesterday, and he dominated proceedings. So maybe he needs to feel sick more often.
Henry went left off that turn and tried to get some clear water, and he's going to try and move up here. I think this boat gets awfully close as they try and get the shots we're seeing here, and he needs to move up a little. I don't think he'd like to be this far back. He's not.
We haven't seen him chase yet, have we? He's basically been out the swim at the front, or pretty much, and he's been able to control his race and go out there and do what he needs to do. And now put in this position with guys in his way going out onto the bike and having to make up a bit of time potentially, that's a different story. I mean, Polyansky's moving back with Zafiris is now moving to the front. Polyansky, he does seem to fly off these beach start and have a great first 200 metres, and then he's the next few hundred metres don't seem to be as good for him. But these front kind of 8 guys here, there's absolutely nothing between them. They're really close. I don't actually think they're swimming that quick either. They're quite bunched. It doesn't look like they're really pushing it here. I don't think it would be a bit more strung out if they were.
They're not moving quick, but there's 2 guys off the back that seem to be distant. So I was looking to see if that was Richard Murray. I know it's Hayden Wild.
One of them's Richard Murray.
But he is very, very quick through transition, but he leaves himself a lot to do, and that tends to catch up with you in that latter stages of this race.
Vincent Louis moving through here, always where he needs to be, isn't he, pretty much? I think he could probably swim to the front here if he needed to, but he's just biding his time, doing what he needs to do. As he moved back there, Henry moved up a bit to the right, and Johnny to the left of that group at the back. But yeah, if we go back there, I think if we think that's Wild, there's Murray off the back effectively.
Yeah, really.
He's probably still just okay, like you say. He's great transition. He's good at these little runs out the swim, and great at getting on his bike and that first kind of 500 metres. So I don't think he's in trouble, but it might just show things are taking its toll maybe a bit more than you'd expect.
Tommy Zafiris leads a world-class field out of the water. Leo Berger there, little stumble for Hayden Wild. He's a bit injured. He had a bit of trouble with an accident in transition in the heat, and there was a fair bit of blood coming out of his knee, which was already injured.
I think Martin Van Riel will be very, very happy with that swim. He's very, very strong on this climb. We saw in the heats, he really goes to the front. He applied the pressure and broke the group up. He's such a good swim biker, and he showed his run form over these shorter distances is strong as well.
Great transition from Vincent Louis, who comes out behind Zafiris, and Murray needs a very, very quick one.
And he did it.
And he's come out ahead of Hayden Wild.
Hayden Wild hasn't done his helmet up there. That's technically a violation. But to just choose to act on it, but it probably just shows that he's under a bit more stress than maybe he would like to be here. And yeah, this is Ben Canute, I think, taking it on up this first hill. Vincent Louis chasing him hard, and Martin Van Riel on his wheel as well. I think you're right, he'll be really happy with that swim. He's a good, solid swimmer, but not spectacular. So for him to come out of the water, you know, in third or fourth, I think is a great result for him. And you can see Johnny there in fourth, chasing hard to make it onto the wheel. Richard Murray's moved up, and Schumann is going back through the field. This will be key for Schumann. You know, if you're not absolutely on your top form here, just puts you in the red a bit earlier than you'd like to be, and we'll see if over these next 5 minutes can he hold in or not. And Hayden Wild is off the back there. Yeah,
it was Hayden Wild who was our last qualifier on by the fastest time with Leo Bergier. So he needs to do some work. He needs to work that climb. But you know one thing, when Ben Canute's in the race, you saw him in the heats, he is aggressive as can be on this bike ride. He attacks the corners. Every single time he hit the bottom of that hill, he launches to the front. He'll keep this pace as hard as he possibly can.
Vincent being aggressive here. I mean, I think he's probably sniffed that Henry's off the back and struggling, and he's been aggressive as we've seen. And I think you know, you can see Canute and Johnny there. You know, these guys are pushing hard to go with it, and Zafir is just on the back of this group of 5.
We should update you right now on why it's important that Henry Schumann is back there. There's a maximum of 50 points on offer for the round, and the round win. Schumann took 25 yesterday, Vincent Louis 21, Johnny Brownlee 18, Hayden Wild 16, Martin Van Riel 14. There's another 25 and those numbers as well on offer for today, and the maximum number of points, whoever has the most comes in with the round win, and the championship points moving forward into Singapore. So if Vincent Louis can put a few people between himself and Henry Schumann, he will come up with another round win, and he's taken 2 already.
He's driving the pace.
Yeah, he's really driving the pace here. You can see the gaps.
And the problem with Henry Schumann and Richard Murray back there is they're behind Igor Polyansky, who does tend to struggle on this climb, and that takes one pot right around the equation. It makes the gap even bigger, and someone has to make the move to get across. And when that pace is fast up front, that stings the legs.
Yeah, and I think there's, you know, even if Henry was feeling on top form here, this isn't a position he's been in. You know, he's been at the front, he's been controlling the pace, he's been able to take the corners, his own lines at his own pace, and that's a completely different thing. You know, even if actually you're lapping at exactly the same speed, or, you know, the time, I guess, you know, doing it in the group can be so much harder because you're having to break into corners, accelerate out, you're having to chop and change the pedalling you're doing. So even that could just be making him a lot more uncomfortable. But you can see they've gone harder. You know, they're taking the time to catch the breath over the kind of crest of that hill, and it's actually Richard Murray who's been
struggling.
Yeah, we haven't really seen Richard Murray being distance on a bike leg before in Super League.
He hasn't been ridden off the pack, which is exactly what happened then. Igor Polyansky, as we said, lost it on that climb. He got held up behind him, and boom, suddenly you're 5 bike lengths off the back. And Vincent Louis has been gassing this Winston Church Hill, we call it.
Explain that. There's a church at the top of the hill.
Church at the top.
We called it Church Hill. Now it's the Winston Church Hill.
Wow,
look it up.
Yeah.
Wikipedia it if you don't know what we're talking about.
I hope no one got paid to come up with that.
I've put my invoice in and it hasn't been paid yet.
Yeah, Vincent has been aggressive here, you can see, and he's pushing the pace. Henry's moved up a bit there past Tommy Zafir, so maybe he's just been tactical. He might not be feeling his best, but he's just going, actually conserve here. You know, what can I do to get round and get round as efficiently as possible, which is the clever thing to do. And yeah, that's kind of, I've always thought, the mark of a really great athlete. What can they do on a bad day? And can they pull a performance out on a bad day? And, you know, physically you might not have it, but what can you do kind of mentally and tactically to get through those days where it's not really in your favour?
Johnny's been marking Vincent this whole ride, which I think is a clever move. One thing about Vincent and one thing about this course is it doesn't really hurt you as much to be on the front of this bike. It's just one of those courses, very, very difficult. You're not really getting a draft advantage up this climb. They tend to move up there, and the technicality of this right-hander at the bottom means there's only about 150 metres where you're actually punching the wind.
Yeah, and I think there's that bit, there's probably the one bit of recovery you get as you roll out through transition into the bottom of the hill, and it is an advantage to be in the pack, but apart from that, there isn't really much of an advantage, and you kind of saw all the time, it doesn't really matter who's there, who's in third, fourth, kind of fifth position, the gap goes always. And you're just a little bit less confident in one of the 3 or 4 people in front of you. You're a bit more careful. You lose a few meters around that corner, and all of a sudden, that gap goes out and everything gets harder. That said, they've slowed up that hill. You know, look, Murray's back on the back there and actually come round someone, which I think is probably Zafir. The 2 guys behind have nearly got back into contact. So I think they definitely used that chance there to take a bit of a breather. It looked like Van Riel attacked early doors but didn't really move the pace on there maybe, or it was a tactic for him to slow it down maybe, I don't know, but yeah, there was a definite slowing in pace.
It was on lap 3 that he attacked in the heat and really distanced it, but they slowed up in lap 2, and it was Van Riel who went to the front in the heats with Johnny and did some real damage. Much different looking group of athletes in that heat than we're seeing right now, but he likes to be on the front, I think, Martin, and
he does. He's a good bike rider as well, you know, technically really good, and tactically, you know, you actually see him attack and take the race on and make it interesting, and yeah, I guess that's what he's doing here. But yeah, the guys who you'd expect, you know, with Vincent there, Johnny, Leo Berger, the guys who would know to worry about him are keeping close order this, and that shows that they are concerned. They know he can cause damage if he wants to, and they want to be close to it. These splits happening again. Who's that back? So you've got Berger to Henry Schumann to Ben Canute, who's just let the wheel go a bit there and is having to ride so hard to get himself back on.
And Safari's on the back.
Yeah, Richard Murray just on Canute's wheel. Canute is a good wheel, you know. He doesn't tend to take any risks or corner aggressively. He doesn't really sprint out corners. So if you want a wheel to control yourself back up, he's a great wheel to be on, and Richard Murray will know that better than anyone, I would have thought.
Well, he's gone straight to the front. He's moved from position 6 at the base of that climb straight to the front, and Johnny moves around him. Hayden Wild really needs to be aggressive on this climb. We saw him in the heat have a terrible swim. He used this climb and his lightweight to get across to the group, and as it slows up, he can tack himself on the back and get a little breather before the run.
This climb, rather than actually really splitting the group a lot of the time, it effectively neutralises it, because they roll into the bottom of it and it bunches up, and then they all realise it's bunched up and they look at each other, and at that point it goes, well, the pace is so slow here, for me to push it on attack I have to put a massive amount of power down, and so we've not actually seen a lot of distancing unless they're riding hard in the 2 or 3s like we've seen maybe a bit more in the women's racing. In the men's racing, it's actually been more neutralising than, you know, this much shorter climb that we're seeing now.
Yeah.
Vincent Louis is your current race leader and your current championship leader. Behind him, Jonathan Brownlee of Great Britain, Ben Canute of the USA, Martin Van Riel, the Belgian, just 21 years old, on debut in Super League and making a big splash. Took a stage win yesterday from Leo Berger, who's also figuring in our championship standings. Henry Schumann, who had the win yesterday, is all the way back in 7th position, and he'll need to find a way around and maybe rely on a better swim in the second part of this race. This is the first bike leg. We're going to hit the run soon, and then it's another swim bike run before we arrive at our Sprint Enduro winner. Richard Murray is still tagging onto the back of this one. Tommy Zafiris is just seeing the rubber band stretch a little bit. And behind them, Hayden Wild's doing everything he can and leaving Igor Polyansky behind as they come into transition. Let's see how this one plays out.
Hayden Wild has had to ride hard there on his own. He just saw himself getting away from Polyansky to move up through the field, and he's done a good job. But yeah, he's on the back foot now, isn't he? It's going to be a big call from Johnny.
Johnny had a great transition.
First time for everything.
Of Henry Schumann, and Richard Murray again showing his class in transition.
Can we hear that? Can we make sure we heard that? First time
Say that
for
again
everything.
For me, Alan,
First down of transition, Johnny Brownlee.
It's a barbed compliment, obviously.
Yeah.
Take with one hand, give with one hand and take with the other.
Absolute backhanded compliment, that one.
He looks very comfortable today, Johnny. We called that in the heats. He seemed to be running more on his toes today. He was strong yesterday. I think the short shoot took him out of the equation yesterday, and
but now he has a short shooting and he can take it on this run after they head up the Winston Churchill, which I'm still enjoying saying. The short shoot is at the back end of the run. He can take it on the first or second lap of this run or the first or second lap of the next run, but he can only take it once. Vincent Louis in second position also has one by virtue of winning the other heat. And Henry Schumann has moved into behind Vincent Louis. There's your 1-2 in the championship. And they are vying for a round win and maximum championship points at the end of the day's racing.
So again, at the end of this leg, we're diving in to do a swim, obviously. So,
yes.
You know, the guys who are the good swimmers, Vincent Louis and Henry Schumann, know they've got that in the locker. They know they can give Johnny 5 seconds, and they're probably going to get that in the early parts of the swimming, catching up no problem. The guys like Martin Van Riel, not so much. Ben Canute, you know, he's going to swim okay. But Richard Murray especially, he knows he needs to be close to those guys going into the swim. You know, if a gap opens up, if that 1 metre gap opens up, he knows it's going to be a big effort for him to close it, and he does not want to let that happen.
With it only being a 200-metre opening lap in the first swim, Richard Murray really needs to move up and enter the water first and have everyone else swim around him to get through that first lap and stay close. I think he's a confidence athlete. If he can get through this next swim without in contact, you could give him half a sniff at winning this race.
So neither of our two short shooters decide to take the short shoot. There it is in the middle of your screen, that little shortcut around the inflatable there. Both Brownlee and Vincent Louis decide to keep it in the back pocket as we expected they would, but a great crowd here turning out on a Sunday afternoon in Porto Cristo to watch the very best go at it, and I'm just enjoying watching Ben Canute just muscle his way around this course behind Henry Schoeman. Such a gutsy racer. Martin Van Riel behind him from Murray and Berger.
Yeah, Ben Canute does a fantastic job at clawing his way to fifth place every time. You know, really fantastic racing, making the most of everything he's got in terms of his, you know, triathlon tactics and technical and physical ability. It's good to see. I wouldn't expect anyone to have taken that short shoot on that first leg. It would have been a big risk. You know, you could have then been out front and you would have effectively had to do the whole race yourself. For Johnny, you know, he would have known he could have taken it and hit the swim with whatever, you know, a 10-second lead or 15-second lead very optimistically, but they were still probably going to catch him by the end of the swim. So I think he probably needs to save that until the real racing is kicking off, you know, on that final run.
Tommy Zafiris having a tough day now. He's in 9th position ahead of Igor Polyansky, who is 35 seconds behind now and may find himself eliminated by the 90-second rule if the pace keeps as hot as it is at the front. The pink jersey of Vincent Louis, championship leader, the red of Johnny.
Well, look, there's a big split there. So Vincent actually looked over his left shoulder to see where Henry was. He obviously sensed he was struggling a little bit. They spent that much time racing together that he could feel that. And he came round Johnny to push the pace on. Richard Murray was having to move past the other athletes to get himself back in contact with these leading 2 or 3. And that all of a sudden is a big gap back to the Ben Canute and Martin Van Riel back there, and they're going to do, and Leo Berger behind those guys, so they're going to do everything they can to stay in contact now going into this swim. And as is Richard Murray, you know, he does not want that 1 or 2 metre gap to open. I think Henry is quite confidently saying, I can afford here, you know, I'm trying to get through this whole race as easily as I can until it really matters in that final run. I can afford to let these guys have a couple of seconds and then make it up in the first bit of the swim rather than gassing myself going out on the back part of the run.
Vincent Louis heads through transition. He's got the swim cap on. So does Johnny Brownlee, who throws his shoes in the box and takes off, and he'll lead out of transition. And Henry Schoeman had a quick one to the top 4, all split leaders, and our championship leader, and a nice gap to Leo Berger, Ben Canute as well, and Martin Van Riel.
I think we're starting to see everyone's transitions become a bit more consistent.
They really are.
You know, they seem to go in and out of transition in the same order now, which if
working
we go back,
Super League out, I suppose.
Yeah, if we absolutely, you know, a lot of these things actually, you know, some of them are more traditional transitions that they do a lot, but all of a sudden they're doing different stuff. They're going from a run to a swim, and they're doing stuff they're not normally doing.
Going very wide.
Tried to go wide there to potentially get a bit of a jump on Johnny. They've all gone for a different line there.
4 different lines to the boy.
With Richard Murray right in the middle of them all. So, now we finally get to see potentially what the best line, But Vincent...
Well, it looks like Vincent's picked the right one at this point, or maybe he's just a little bit quicker over the first 50 to 60 metres than Henry Schoeman, who has pretty much led every swim across the course of
so
the
Johnny's
whole series.
seen the danger there and is swimming straight across onto Henry Schoeman's feet. And Schoeman's going straight onto Vincent's feet. So this is probably kind of what we'd expect in this swim, for it to line out and these guys to be pushing the pace. We've got to see now, as we pan back, has Richard Murray made the back of this leading trio? Because
he's just off the back there.
Just about off the back.
He's close. He's very close. And the others have brought up too.
Or Canute. So either Canute or Berger that went in 4th or 5th and swam up onto his feet. And I think Vincent will put the boot in a little bit now. He saw that there was a group of 4. Richard Murray could be a danger man if he sets the pace. I think he knows Johnny and Henry will come with him. And
that gap's gone.
It's starting to go.
And to be honest, there's a bit of a gap between
Johnny and Richard.
Louis to Schoeman. So he's not right on those feet, although he is now going around the boy. But I think that probably we're just seeing that Vincent is really pushing this pace on. That's actually Martin Van Riel that's come round Richard Murray there to try and fill in the gap and to try and make it, and he has. So that's a really good bit of swimming from who I think is Martin Van Riel there in 4th place to get himself round Richard Murray, spot the danger and get on the back of these leading 3.
The pace very much on. If it's not being pushed by Vincent Louis, it's being pushed by somebody else, and they're all in a straight line at this point, which just shows you that there's nothing left in the tank. There's no conservation. There's no racing tomorrow. There's no extra sprint triathlon after this one. It is just a swim, bike, run to victory. And right now, Vincent Louis is looking to take the maximum amount of championship points. He did that in Jersey. He did that in Malta. He's had 50 coming into this out of a possible 50. And he's looking to add another 25 to that. He came second yesterday.
So behind Van Riel, I think that is Ben Canute there desperately scrambling to actually get on Van Riel's feet. And behind him, we're seeing Richard Murray actually go backwards, and Berger, I think it's Berger trying to get round him to get on the back of this group as Murray kind of goes back through the field. Yeah, that's Van Riel coming out there. Ben Canute stumbling slightly, which is not what he needs at this point. Henry Schumann just having a little look behind to see what's going on. Yeah, so that's Berger and Murray. Murray's gone back from 3rd or 4th place on the swim back there to 7th place. And yeah, I mean, yeah, wow, those guys are distanced now, and that's opened up. Henry Schumann's moving round. It looks like moving round Vincent here. Maybe he feels like it's time now to push the pace on and use his fantastic swimming ability to do that. And that's Johnny just sat.
Johnny's in a great spot.
Yeah, this is the spot you want when you
exactly
swim. Between two guys in front of you, you're basically doing probably 10% less work than the people in front.
For those maybe thinking that, and we've seen Henry Schumann take the option of just sitting on Vince Louis' feet before, but we know the kick that Vincent Louis has, and if it comes down to a running race between the two of them, it's happened twice already that Henry Schumann has seen him disappear into the distance. And if it finishes Vincent Louis first, Henry Schumann second, they'll both end up on 46 points. But because Vincent Louis wins Sunday racing, he wins the overall and he takes the championship points. And Henry Schumann cannot afford to allow that to happen.
And he's got the short shoot.
And he's got the short shoot along with Johnny Brownlee, who are both in this group. So the two gentlemen, one being Henry, is that Martin Van Riel on the back?
Yeah, the back, yeah.
Both have the disadvantage of having to know they have to run further. Be it only 10 metres, it's still significant.
It's a big mental block, isn't it, knowing that these guys are going to have to run 10 metres shorter.
Yeah. And Henry knows that actually with or without the short shoot, he needs to do something special here, not only to beat Vincent, and hopefully put someone between him and Vincent if he wants to win this overall.
Agreed.
I don't know if he's thinking like that or if he's thinking that's probably impossible here. You know, let's just hold on and make sure I come, you know, try and win this or for its own good, or just come second or third and consolidate. Who knows? But yeah, I think he would need to do something really special to put the odds in the favour of him winning the overall weekend.
Surely he's not thinking about anything except for I have to go as fast as I can and hope for the best.
Well, that's part of Super League, isn't it? Thinking on the run, or the swim, or the bike, as it were.
Touché, Brownlee.
Being clever about it and using everything you've got to your advantage. This gap behind him has just absolutely exploded on that swim. Yeah, that's
really
back to Berger, and there's Murray, who really looks like he's swimming through lactate, and Ben Canute as well, who maybe the Ben Canute train has finally slowed up a bit. Yeah,
it's a group of 4 now. I think they're going to roar up this climb and put everybody else out of the equation and start looking at each other. I think Vincent's right, such a tactically smart racer, and geez, Johnny, you've been working on your transitions, and he's been fast all day.
Maybe he's been listening to commentary.
I win for him if he has
fast all day.
You've been much nicer to him this weekend than last weekend.
Yeah.
As Vincent Louis tries to put the shoes on, and there's not a lot of room on the flat to do that before the hill starts. And there's your two championship contenders: Henry Schumann of South Africa, Vincent Louis of France, Johnny Brownlee.
And where's Martin Van Riel?
Yeah, where's Martin Van Riel? So it's saying 3 seconds coming out. Oh, there is Ben Canute there.
I think he might have had a slip on the steps.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Either way,
he looks to be in pain.
Tired. Yeah. Maybe he's had a bit of both, or he just fancies a little sit down.
It's been a big weekend, and it's a tough course.
Yeah, I just thought on that last bit of the swim, he's a fantastic swimmer, and his swimming stroke looked really kind of uncomfortable, like he wasn't enjoying it. So I just wondered if it's all taken its toll on him at last. Martin Van Riel's just ridden himself up to the back of that group, so there is a group of 4 with these two guys chasing behind. I think, you know, these guys are going to push it on here, and those two guys behind in Berger and Murray are fantastic riders, so if anyone can ride themselves back into contact, it probably is those two. But yeah, they've got a tall order. Van Riel really low on the bars there, just saving the energy and being as aerodynamic as he can to get back in touch with his group. And yeah, this is Vincent Louis back on the front. You can't say he doesn't deserve to win these races, does he? He spends more time at the front of them than anyone.
And he really applies the pressure when he needs to, and he puts everybody on the back foot. I think this is your strong established group of four. There's no one else going to come through. Leo Bergier back in 5th position, but I think these guys are going to stay away. Vincent will make sure that's the case, and with the short shoot with him and Johnny, it'll be two gentlemen looking at each other with both Henry Schumann and Martin Van Riel.
Another one. Another
I love him.
one.
I think he's magnificent. I think he's a real aggressive little racer. Wow.
Vincent Churchill and the Martin Unreal.
Little
All
gap
right,
there.
a race in 4 at this point. I wonder if they do. I mean, in the women's race, we saw Kirsten Casper take the short shoot on the first lap of the run. She paid for it in the end. Taylor Spivey keeping it in the pocket and coming out about 8 metres in front. Do we see a situation there, the men having looked at that and gone, well, we're both going to take it in lap 2 and which is going to be a straight shootout, or is there any kind of tactical advantage at all in taking it first?
Yeah, I think it probably depends where you are in the race, doesn't it? If you're a little bit behind and, all of a sudden that puts you in front and puts the pressure on that way, maybe, I think you could argue it every way for every position. And is that athlete a front runner? Are they a chaser? Some people are really good at pushing themselves and applying themselves when they've basically got a pair of heels to follow. Some people are great at pushing themselves when they're out front and they've got that confidence. And I think it's probably knowing who you are like that and making that decision on that front. I think the probably safe thing to do, and I think what will happen is they'll both take it on the last lap.
Yep.
Because they'll be looking at each other and then it'll happen.
I spoke with Kirsten Casper and asked her that. What made you take that choice? She said she had a really, really bad transition. If you remember, her bike fell over. She was losing some time and figured, I'm going to take it, maybe Taylor will crack, and that wasn't the case. So Taylor obviously made the short shoot with a lap to go and went on to capitalise and win the event. The one thing I will say is Johnny Brownlee has really good legs today. He's going from front to the back of this course. He seems to be checking Vincent Louis a lot. He's looking around. He seems a lot more comfortable than I have seen him in, especially last week in Malta. And I think yesterday he looked great. He was just shut out by the short shoot. So, with the short shoot in play for him, I'd love to see him tactically use it very, very well to his advantage.
I think to beat Vincent, though, he probably, he needs to make some kind of move, probably. Maybe not a move to get off the front on the bike, but, he just needs to mix the race up again, make it a bit difficult, make it uncomfortable, because at the moment, Vincent's controlling this race. He's doing it, racing exactly as he wants to race. He does this technical bit every time, pushes it around the corners, pushes it up the hill, pushes it out of that downhill, waits for it to sit up on this bit, and then so he can kind of cruise up this tough hill. Gets his breath back and does it all again. So this race is basically on Vincent Louis' terms.
Do you run off the shoulder?
So easy.
Yeah, well, do you run off the shoulder of Vincent Louis with a lap to go and then put him in front, make sure hope he doesn't take the short shoot on the first lap, and then duck through and put him on the back foot? Johnny likes to run a long way from home and at least have a crack a long way out. Vincent tends to get a lot stronger as he gets closer to home, but with that 5-second advantage, it could be the deciding factor.
We have confirmation that Ben Canute, we saw him on the steps lying down, is in fact okay. He had a hip spasm coming out of the water and decided that it was too hard to go on. But he is all right, and he will live to fight another day, which is good to hear. He really races with his heart on his sleeve, Ben Canute, and it's unfortunate to see him not finish this incredible sprint enduro, but it is also fantastic to watch these men battle it out. And in fact, Richard Murray and Leo Bergier have narrowed that gap. By about 7 seconds on that lap.
Leo Bergier has been on the front of that. Richard Murray's been stuck to his wheel pretty much for the entire 2 laps that we've done. He's just been magnificent up that climb, Leo. He rides so well and he uses his descent. If you look at Martin Van Riel, all of them actually tucked down like that. Leo
every time Vincent puts a really low tuck on and just uses it to get himself back into the front of the race. We're seeing Ben Canute here being led off the course.
Does look a little bit tender from that hip, and that is Brad Beer, the physio that travels with us from Super League, marshalling him through the course as Henry Schumann finds himself for the first time, you're right, at the front of this race. He had a mortgage on the front of the race yesterday, but today it hasn't been all his way, and these two are trying desperately to work together to come back, and Richard Murray will be confident that he can put a good run in, but whether it'll be enough, we'll have to wait and see.
There are a couple of guys still in the race off the back of these guys that we're not talking about so much. We're seeing Hayden Wild battling strong. He's actually still only 31 seconds down, so a really good job there. And Zafira is at 45 seconds down. So, yeah, these guys, there he is, Hayden Wild, just making up the hill. He's in a race of his own here just to hang on and do everything he can to keep himself in the race. So they're going on to the last lap now on the bike, last time up this hill. And Henry's actually leading them in fast. So this would be a really good time. Wait for it to slow up. Wait for it to sit up any minute now, and then someone have a go. And not do what Johnny's doing, which is just go to the front and move the pace on without actually doing anything aggressive.
There'll be some very happy gentlemen when they reach the top of Mount Mallorca for the very last time, for 12 months at least. This is the last time they'll head up this hill. And I'm sure they'll be happy. Hayden Wild will too once he gets up there. And it is a brutal, brutal climb at 13% gradient. Very, very tough. Bergier and Murray remain 12 seconds back on our group of 4. Van Riel, I think we're not talking about him much. He's comfortable enough to take a drink of water a couple of times. He looks comfortable back there. I wonder what he's got left in the tank behind these 3.
Yeah, I think he's doing a good tactical race. He's using the aerodynamic advantage as he can to not pedal down there. Although he is on his top tube actually using his brakes, but he might as well just sit up and stretch his back a bit. But yeah, I think he knows these guys in front of him are probably the better runners, and he's trying to save all the energy he can going into the run, which is the sensible thing to do. Will Richard Murray be able to pick any of these guys in front of him off? He's a great runner over this format, but I think he's probably had to swim and ride really hard here to keep himself in contact. So let's see what he's got left.
In terms of overall championship points, Richard Murray is currently in 3rd position after a great week out last week on 34 points. Johnny Brownlee on 28 points, so he'll know that there's some value there in trying to run Johnny Brownlee down. Vincent Louis on 50 and Henry Schoeman on 42.
But Murray had a terrible day yesterday. So
he did.
Yeah, he's a long way down the standing.
He doesn't seem to have the run legs this weekend and bounce back from Malta as they come into transition.
This transition's crucial.
It really is.
I actually saw quite a few of them have left their trainers outside the box, and some of them have put trainers inside the box or have got 2 pairs of trainers. So I think that's what Johnny's done. He's actually got 2 pairs of trainers with him, so he can afford. This transition's really crucial for them. And now Vincent's out first, Henry's last.
Henry was a little slow there compared to the others. I don't know whether he was slow or the others were just lightning quick. Murray, who's a great transitioner.
Henry's moved
up.
Henry's moved up but doesn't have the short shoot. The 2 gentlemen on screen, Vincent Louis and Jonathan Brownlee, have the advantage of being able to take a shortcut, a 10-metre advantage on this run. When they use it is up to them. It'll be interesting to see. Henry knows that. He'd be thinking about that, and
he needs to make a move.
He needs to make a move.
Absolutely does. Henry Schoeman, and he moves to the front, and now he's going to start to try and push the pace. Henry Schoeman. I don't know whether Martin Van Riel has got anything left in him. And again, these 3 were at the front on the run home yesterday in the triple mix. They're on the front in the run home today in the Sprint Enduro. Henry Schoeman needs to finish in 1st position if Vincent Louis finishes 2nd. Otherwise, now Louis responds, but if Louis finishes 1st, they're going to end up on equal points, and Vincent Louis will take the overall. Here are our last men through transition, Tommy Zafiris and Igor Polyansky. I think Martin Van Riel's day is over in terms of the podium at least.
Johnny's moved around.
He's got to try and hold off Murray coming from behind him.
Yeah,
I think Schoeman put a big effort in there. That was his effort, and also I think we're seeing he doesn't like running downhill too much, so he tends to move backwards a bit on the downhill, whereas Vincent Louis and Johnny run downhill that bit faster.
Does Johnny take it now? Does Johnny take a little advantage, put Henry at surprise?
I don't think he's willing to do it.
Yeah,
he's not willing to do it.
Oh, yes, he's going to do it. Good move, smart move.
I don't know, is it going to pay off?
He's going to commit now. Johnny Brownlee's taken the shoot.
Now it's time to put the hammer down.
He absolutely has to commit. I mean, I'm not convinced it's going to pay off, but I just think it's fantastic to see he's taken the risk and he's going for it. But he absolutely has to 1,000% commit now.
We've lost Will. Will's gone to watch the race.
Yeah, sorry. And this is Vincent Louis obviously running as hard as he can, and Henry Schoeman on his heels.
I don't know if Schoeman's got anything left there.
No, I think
Johnny's committed.
And that's his move. He has to give everything he's got here. He has to give 100% out of every single corner. Because work the downhills. He needs to. We saw him not doing that in Malta, not committing to the downhills, not leaning forward. At least he's leaning forward, and you can see he's turning in his arms over here, which is great to see. But obviously,
if Johnny Brownlee wins this race, he wins the overall round.
He wins the overall round. And he's got a gap here. He's got a gap. You know that Vincent Louis will move up. He finishes very, very quickly. He has the short shoot, which is a 5-second advantage. Johnny has to work this next hill. This is the most important uphill section for Johnny Brownlee of the race.
Yeah, I think Vincent Louis is coming hard though. He looks like he's in control here, and he's running well, and he's giving it everything. So I think, unfortunately, it might have a couple of meters coming out that short shoot when he gets to take it. But it's made the racing really interesting, hasn't it? There's no doubt about that, and it's hard to tell from this camera angle as it foreshortens it down the hill as well.
He's looked across. You see the glance. He took a breath. He's going to commit to this down here like we saw in Malta. He's going to let the legs roll, but Johnny's on.
Come on, Johnny.
Come on, Johnny.
Great Britain is saying, come on, Johnny. The French are saying, come on, Vince Louis, make it 3 from 3.
The gap is big. The gap is big.
Is it big enough? We're going to see an elimination for, I think, Igor Polyansky has been showing the yellow flag, so the Russian day is over.
He's not doing this
Let's go back to that, see that short shoot. Here we go. Johnny comes to the top of the course.
You've got to remember
Vincent Louis going to turn now.
Left after this, and it's close.
It's going to be close. He's going to accelerate onto him, but Vincent Louis is in front.
It's going to be close. There's still 400 metres to go. There's this bit of downhill, and then a kind of long, slightly uphill drag into the finish. But
who's got more?
Vincent's hard to get, but Johnny is not giving up here.
Johnny's not giving up. He's coming hard on this downhill. He's coming really hard. He's doing all he can to get back in touch. I mean, he knows this is a big ask to out sprint or out kick Vincent Louis over the last 400 metres, but he's giving it all he's got to get himself back in contact. I think
great weekends racing from Johnny Brownlee.
If Vincent makes he's made that turn now with a bit of a gap, and he knows he's got it.
He's got it.
He used all the road he's got there. Fantastic racer.
Great racing. Takes time to look at the camera on the back of the motorbike, and Vincent Louis is going to make it a perfect 3 from 3. He won in Jersey, he won in Malta, and now Vincent Louis wins in Mallorca. Congratulations to the Frenchman. He is a class above. Johnny Brownlee gave it absolutely everything as well. Henry Schumann will finish in 3rd position, but what racing that was. Heart on the sleeve racing from Johnny Brownlee, and a great response from Vincent Louis. Henry Schumann finishes in 3rd to add to his first yesterday. And Martin Van Riel holds off Richard Murray for 4th place, 5th place for Murray, but what racing that was.
Absolutely fantastic. And so for the weekend, that means Vincent Louis has won again, Henry Schumann in 2nd, and Johnny in 3rd, I think. From my quick mental maths there.
You can do it in your head. I have to write it down. You went to Cambridge. I did not go to Cambridge.
Richard Murray, Leo Berger. When we're just seeing Hayden Wilder, is he going to make it in before the 90 seconds? I mean, not that it really matters now anyway, but.
And he didn't fasten that helmet up. I wonder if the officials picked that up, if that's a DQ or a penalty. I'm not sure what the rules are there.
If you can redo it before the mount line, you haven't impeded anyone or gotten in anyone's way, and they kind of look kindly on it, I think.
Okay.
There's not much more you can ask from a day's racing than that. What a fantastic finish that was. And Tommy Zafiris manages to easily avoid elimination in the end. Great racing from him as well. He's a fantastic swimmer, and he's held on with only a few days' notice. And Hayden Wild makes it home as well. Tough day out for him. He's had a couple of injuries, but he has firmly announced himself on the Super League scene. Great crowd coming out and lining every inch of this course to watch some absolutely world-class racing here on the streets of Porto Cristo. Not a seat in the house. They're hanging out of every balcony as well. Never been so many people in Burger King. And Tommy Zafiris crosses the black carpet finishing line. Congratulations to him. Brilliant racing and another brilliant round of Super League. That was brilliant racing.
That was awesome. That was so awesome. I really impressed with Johnny to be committing so far out for that race.
We're going to show the closing stages again, and that was the short shoot take from Vincent Louis. There was about maybe 5 metres between them, and it slowly extended, but you could see that, I mean, when Johnny's running hard, and that was as hard as it gets.
Yeah, he was running as hard as he was good to see in there, take the risk and then commit to it early on. That's a Johnny we haven't seen racing for a while, and he was committing everything he's got down the downhill to get back on Vincent, even though he knew it was going to be a big ask, even if he made it onto that shoulder. So that was good, and the short shoot did actually make for exciting racing today. I've been a bit sceptical of it sometimes in the past, but it really made the racing today, I think.
Yeah, we're refining the short shoot as we go along, but we got it absolutely spot on today, I think. And Vincent Louis is enjoying his Super League journey. There is no doubt about it whatsoever. He's great at the short stuff. He's great at French Grand Prix racing, and he is great at Super League Triathlon. Has won every round. Vincent Louis. Johnny Brownlee helps out his overall championship with a third place today overall. But how good was Vincent Louis? Here are the official results. 8 men made it home. Hayden Wild, we have been given the conversation, will be disqualified for not doing his helmet strap up. So Tommy Zafiris will move into 7th position.
He mounted his bike and then did his helmet strap up, which is
a DQ.
Yeah, which is a bad thing to do. You know, if you can do it up before you mount your bike, that's a completely different story.
They tend to look at it a little bit more lightly, but I think that was after a poor swim. You jump on the bike, you panic a little bit, throw the helmet on and clip it up. It's
a learning experience for the 21-year-old, no doubt. Vincent Louis wins it in a 36.02. That is fast from Johnny Brownlee, Henry Schumann, Martin Van Riel, and Richard Murray is your top 5 from Leo Bergier, Tommy Zafiris, Hayden Wild disqualified. So 7 men to finish that race. Time to head down now to Annie with our winner.
Johnny, one better than yesterday. That short shoot there. What was your decision to take it when you did?
Well, I know that I've had some great battles with Vince for the last, probably 15 years now. And that was one of the best battles I've ever had. I knew the only card I had to play was to take the short shoot early, get a gap, and hopefully I'd give absolute full gas and I could pull out a 2 or 3 second lead and it wouldn't come down to a sprint finish, because this guy's very hard to beat on a sprint finish. But I really enjoyed that battle today.
Congratulations, Vance, on the winner here today. You go from strength to strength. That short shoot, though, I think played a big part, didn't it, in the overall victory in the end?
Yeah. That's why I wanted to win this morning, wanted to win the heat. Not only for the psychological influence, but more for taking the short shoot. And when I knew Johnny had the short shoot too, I was like, okay, he's a true racer and a great racer, so we'll play a fair game together on the final.
Johnny, great to see you back on the podium. We know you've had a tough year, but third yesterday, one better today. I guess that's feeling pretty good now.
Yeah, it's probably been my worst year in my whole career, but it's nice to finish it in style and finish on the podium, but more importantly, finish it feeling good and enjoying a good race. So that's why I do the training, that's why I'm here to race, just to have battles like that. That's why I do the sport, so I really enjoyed it today.
Vincent, this style of racing is something pretty special, and I think it's given so much excitement to the crowds. But what do you think of it as an athlete?
Yeah, that's my first year racing the Super League, and I only heard good things about that. So I was like, okay, I want to race next year. And yeah, I got my spot, and I tried to bring some more French with me because I know it will be like a great race. But yeah, it is, and it's tough, but it's really great to race. And with guys like Johnny and Henry making the race really interesting, it's even more great to win.
Great stuff. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you. Well,
fantastic racing from Johnny Brownlee, Vincent Louis, and all of our Super League athletes. And there is Hayden Wild, who went through a lot of pain today and is rewarded via a small mistake with a DQ, which obviously is, well, he fell afoul of the rules, and that's what happens to the very, very best of them. But a learning experience for Hayden Wild, and as we look back at that race, and a great start from Igor Polyansky and Zafiris in the middle, but Polyansky took control along with Zafiris, Van Riel, Louis. There was a bit of a trip from the Russian, but it wasn't too long before Ben Canute dragged a whole bunch with him. Unfortunately, we wouldn't see Ben Canute all the way through the race. He pulled out with a hip spasm. We'll see that in just a second. But solid transition. That's just about where Ali Brownlee gave his brother a backhanded compliment about his great transition. We all enjoyed that. Back into the water for the second time around, and very, very different decisions. We've seen that across the course of the weekend about which line to take, and I don't know if there's a clear winner at this point.
No, it seems not, although Vincent did get to that first buoy first before Johnny and Henry, although he's probably just swimming a bit faster. So, yeah, I think we could argue that one literally forevermore. We'll never know.
Yeah, let's not. I'll lose that argument in the end. And there we go. Johnny took the short shoot first. As he said in the interview, he played his card and he wanted to arrive in 1 lap's time right back here with a couple of seconds gap, which he did, but unfortunately he was on the wrong end of that gap because Vincent Louis took it the second time around and just managed to come out in front of Brownlee. And We know he's got the very best kick over the last 300 metres or so in triathlon, and he showed that again today. Vincent Louis, he's won in Jersey, in Malta, and now in Mallorca in front of a fantastic crowd. And that was simply spectacular racing from some of the best in the world. There is the beautiful Bay of Porto Cristo with Rafael Nadal's house at the bottom of your screen, all 700,000 square feet of it. It's time now for the podium presentation, and we will start with our race winners and then on to our round winners. Time now to head down to the MC for the podium presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, may we present to you the ceremony for Super League Mallorca, Day 2 Sprint Enduro. I'd like to welcome Antonio from Rafa Nadal Sports Centre to make the presentation of the medals. Our bronze medalist today, from South Africa, Henry Schoeman. Our silver medal winner, from Great Britain, Jonathan Brownlee. Race winner for Super League Mallorca, Day 2 Sprint Enduro, from France, Vincent Louis.
There are your top three. Jonathan Brownlee, a great battle with Vincent Louis. Henry Schoeman didn't quite have enough left in the tank after a great day yesterday. He's battled illness throughout the last 4 or 5 days here in Mallorca, but a valiant effort from him. And those three are just a cut above, I suppose you could say, for Super League racing, at least in its first season. As we see it progress over the course of years to come, we'll see people get better and better at this, but right now there's none better.
I don't think it was just those three. I think if you look across the series, you know, Richard Murray was right in there at times as well. We saw Christian Blumenfeld obviously in Jersey and not in these other two. So yeah, there are other people out there, and maybe there's some of the younger guys. Martin van Riel jumping in to do his first one fantastically, and the young guy Hayden Wild, you know, not a million miles off as well. So I think it's a constant flux.
Here is your updated championship points, and Vincent Louis taken 75 from 75. Henry Schoeman 63 is now 12 back. Richard Murray retains his third position with 48 points, but Jonathan Brownlee has narrowed that gap from 6 points to 2. So plenty to play for in Singapore in February. Leo Berger now gaps Hayden Wild. They were on 22 points apiece. Leo Berger has taken 12 points on there because Hayden Wild was disqualified in the end. It picks up 0. Tyler Mislachuk on 18. He didn't play a part in the race. He got knocked out in a very strong heat. Ben Canute on 14. And he didn't finish either, of course, but he is okay. It is time now for some money to be handed out and for our top 3 men overall for the round to be crowned. We head back down to the podium.
Ladies and gentlemen, may we present to you the ceremony for Super League Mallorca, the trophy presentation. Antonio, our Mayor of Porto Cristo, will be making the presentation. In third place, from Great Britain, Jonathan Brownlee. In second place, from South Africa, Henry Schoeman. Race winner, Super League Mallorca, your champion, Vincent Louis from France. Ladies and gentlemen, your champions of Mallorca. Now to present the checks, I call upon Natalia from Rafa Nadal Sports Centre.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
20,000 US dollars for Vincent Louis. He's now 60,000 US dollars richer after the last month's racing. If you don't mind, Henry Schumann picks up 15,000 and Jonathan Brownlee 10,000 US dollars. And now it is time to look forward to Singapore on the 23rd and 24th of February 2019, which will be our grand final. And what a weekend's racing it will be.
It'll be very hot and humid. These guys have got a lot of work to do. They're going to go back to the drawing boards. They've got Christmas to look at, and these guys have got to look at Vincent Louis. How do you dislodge this guy? He's going to be dominating.
I think they'll all be having a couple of weeks off, to be honest. A bit of holiday, maybe a bit of time at home, whatever. These guys have travelled a lot this year, and then they'll be looking to start a bit of training going into December, bit of time off over Christmas, and then New Year building up towards Singapore.
All right, we cannot wait for all of that. Thank you to Alistair Brownlee, thank you to Chris McCormack, to Vicky Collins, to Annie Emerson, and to the entire Super League team, and to each and every one of our athletes. We hope you've enjoyed our telecast. We've certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. That was Super League Triathlon Round 3. We'll see you in Singapore in February. Bye for now.